Big Sills! Welcome aboard on this Tuesday. Question for you. A week from Tuesday, will Nick Sirianni still be the head football coach of the Philadelphia Eagles this day next week? Will he still be the head coach? You know, I'm starting to get a sense that there's a tsunami coming. Today we have Merrill Reese on at 3:30. We're going to move tone to 4:30. I heard Merrill Reese on WIP, and he was asked the question, have you ever gone through anything like this? And I'm paraphrasing. Have you ever felt anything like this? You know what he said? Yeah. The last year when Doug was fired. Merrill Reese, the play-by-play legendary voice of the Eagles, says that this feels like the year, and you have 11 wins, that Doug Peterson was fired. Can you believe? I mean, you won 11 games, and the legendary play-by-play guy feels like this is the year that you won 4 games that year. So to Merrill Reese, this feels like a 4-win team. Let me say again to you. That's incredible. That's not me talking here. That's a guy who you were raised on. Many of you, that's the only voice of the Philadelphia Eagles you've ever known, is Merrill Reese. And when he said that, it floored me. Because I think that's how all of you are feeling now. 11 wins is almost insignificant. It's really not. It's quite an accomplishment to get double-digit wins in this league when the league is built on parity. Okay? The league is built on everybody going 8-9, 9-8. That's what the league, they want the league around those numbers. They don't like dynasties. That's why you have a cap, and that's why you have a draft set up the way it is. They feed the poor in that league, unlike any other league. Baseball, basketball, they don't feed the poor. The NFL feeds the poor. You're only as strong as the weakest links, weakest organizations in your sport. The NFL sets up the league to make sure the bottom half get better so that they're strong in all and in whole. So that all 32 teams, that's why they have profit sharing. The NFL is a business model that every league should follow. Unfortunately, they can't, because you know why? What's the number one thing that the NFL has over every league? What's the number one thing? Do you guys know? Do you guys know the number one thing that you have over every league? Okay? What's the one thing? What's the one thing? TV? Fan base? No. They don't guarantee the contracts of players. Players' contracts aren't guaranteed. That's the one thing they have over every league. LeBron James's contract would not be guaranteed in the NFL. They don't guarantee the deals. Only one guy's got a contract that's guaranteed, and they hate the deal. Hey, by the way, before we move on, there's really only few shows that allow people to come and have conversations with Big Sills and other places, and that's the Pat McAfee show. I watched Pat McAfee kick the shit out of Jimmy Kimmel today. And he stated what he exactly said, and it was classic. Pretty interesting. There'll be, and again, they hate the guy because he's an anti-vaxxer guy, and he's that dude. I'm not going to go more into it because that's not my lane. But I'll tell you what, man. ESPN hates that guy, and I'm talking McAfee, because that was appointment-setting television. You had to watch it. That's what broadcasting used to be, appointment setting. That's why some of you come here, because it's appointment setting. You know why? Because I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm going to tell you what I see. There's very few places like that on the planet that aren't going to wait pom-poms. There's just not. You see, what I don't have to do, I don't have to walk. The only time I have to walk back something is if a player does well. But if I walk back and I say something like my opinion will never change on Sirianni. No, I'll take that back. If he goes somewhere else and wins, and he gets the opportunity to see if he's a real coach, and he shows me that he's a coach like Doug is, then he will. He will change my opinion. He will change my opinion. Okay? He will. For Doug, hey, get this. For Nick Sirianni to be a really good head coach in the NFL, he's got to get out of Philly. And I got just a replacement. I'm making a bold request to the NovaCare Center at the conclusion. And Tone, everyone, our good IT man, I am making a request for all of you at the NovaCare Center. At the conclusion of this 2023-2024 season with the playoffs, I demand you fire Nick Sirianni and hire Mike Vrabel. You want accountability? There's your guy. There's your guy. So let me get this right. In the last 3 years, you get rid of Mike Vrabel and A.J. Brown. I'm not sure and a pretty good GM. I'm not sure you're doing a lot of right things in Tennessee right now. Derrick Henry would be out the building. They're just going to clean house. Once you hire a guy with some balls, the guy will tell you how it is. And the guy will coach Jalen Hurts hard. And he'll bring in people and ideas that you need from a coach. You better grab him, or he's going to be grabbed up real soon. If that guy is not hired within a week, I'll be shocked. He'll be hired as quick as Tony Dungy was after Tony Dungy got fired in Tampa. Hire Mike Vrabel. I am making a request. Fire Nick Sirianni no matter what on Tuesday of next week after the Monday night game, or at the conclusion, let's do that, of the season, and hire Mike Vrabel. Get some balls in the building. Get some balls in the building. Bob Kraft is going to make him probably the highest paid NFL head coach. You see, a guy like Jim Harbaugh, who last night now has a $20 million price tag. I don't believe that Jeffrey Lurie would go up to that extent and pay Jim Harbaugh that kind of money. You want to hear something about Jim Harbaugh? Let me show you something here. You know why he's out of your price range? And he's also out of your coaching range. He's too good for you. I want to show you something here. Look at this. So Jim Harbaugh last night, after winning the national championship, has got 146 and 52 college record. At Michigan, he's 88 and 25. He's won 43 ball games in the last 3 years and lost 3. He's 60 and 17 in the Big Ten. And in the NFL, he's 44-19 and 1, went to 3 straight NFC championship games and has 1 NFC title. And he played 17 years in the NFL. This guy's way over your skis. This is somebody that you cannot afford mentally, physically, spiritually. You couldn't handle this. The owner of the Eagles couldn't handle Harbaugh. So don't ever go down that lane, because that's way beyond your means. And I mean your means because the owner would feel threatened. You couldn't hire a guy like that. Okay? You couldn't tolerate a guy telling you to sit down or go over there, or that's not how we're doing it. We're hiring him. You couldn't handle that. Vrabel may work with you. Former NFL guy, too. I like former NFL head coaches or former players who are NFL coaches. Because you know why? He wasn't coached lightly. I'm going to make a point to you here. Where's the topic page? Let's get into it. By the way, the last regular season, top 10 NFL power rankings for the top 10 teams and quarterbacks. How about this indictment on how you do business in Philly? Are you ready? Javon Hargrave says it's kumbaya, and it's kind of a lazy attitude, and they really don't work hard in Philly. When I came to San Francisco, I couldn't believe how much attention to detail, how hard we worked, how much hitting we did, how much we practiced, how much we were in full gear. We're still in full gear. He said when you're in Philly, it's a soft mentality. I added that. He didn't say soft. He said kumbaya. You've created a mental attitude in the Philly locker room that's soft. And when things go sideways, you're front runners. These are the words of Javon Hargrave. The Philadelphia Eagles are officially front runners. You're front runners. You can't dig yourself out of the pit because you don't know how to. You couldn't do it in 20, and you can't do it now. You're incapable of digging yourself out of trouble. You don't have the mental fortitude in adversity. You know what you get? Nick Sirianni giving me 1930 Newt Rockne speeches. I don't want a Newt Rockne speech. I would tell everyone, shut up. Go to work. Think about that. Javon Hargrave is calling you soft mentally. We wouldn't hire Vrabel because Howie would feel threatened. If you're Jeffrey Lurie, do you want to win or do you want to feel threatened? Anybody that challenges that, him a little, he would not hire. We have a control problem. Yes, sir. If you don't want to hire Mike Vrabel, instead of that cheerleader you have in the building right now, then you don't want to win. No, you kind of want to win. I'm going to say it one more time to you. That front office paid the bills, gathered some of the players, but like Jordan said, players got to go out and play. That 17 team was coaches and players that won that Super Bowl. It wasn't that front office. And they're taking credit for it. This is what happened last year. The front office did a really nice job at constructing and putting together a lot of veteran guys. One of the better rosters. But what's the one place that they failed? Coaching. That's all you need to know. In 17, you won the Super Bowl because of coaching. In 2022, you lost the Super Bowl because of coaching. That's hiring decisions. That's control decisions. It's simple. I'll tell you what, man. Once you figured the Rubik's Cube out, known as the Eagle Management Group, it ain't that hard to figure out. You keep hearing people talking about hey, you're either going to win or you're not going to win. Hire Vrabel. And if you don't hire Vrabel and you hire some nobody, you're going to know where we are. If you don't hire Mike Vrabel on Tuesday of next week, or whenever your day is ended in the playoffs, and you hire Nick Sirianni 2.0, it won't matter. You're in a revolving door now. Hey, I'll tell you something that makes this even more. The Eagles fight themselves. You have lowered your standards to where you're kind of like the Buccaneers now. And the Buccaneers are in a rebuild with a transition quarterback. You're supposed to be in a Super Bowl window. The Bucs are in a rebuild. And you're 3.5-point favorites over that thing. They got better coaches than you. It's a shame, Shills, because we are saying all this shit, and we all know damn well they're going to keep Sirianni. Vrabel would punk Howie. Yeah, what happened? The general manager got fired. They kept Vrabel. In my opinion, Tennessee isn't committed to winning championships anymore. When you got Ryan Tannehill as your starting quarterback and you're consistently missing, what was the general manager's name that was fired? Do you know? Go back and look at his record. And how many times was his name Peterson? Was his name like Peterson, the general manager of the Titans? He got fired because of the A.J. Brown deal. There's no question about it. But you have to wonder, did ownership make them move him? Did they underutilize him? Every coach needs a quarterback and really good coaching staff. Jimmy Johnson said that right here on this program. Javon Hargrave called the Eagle organization soft, and it's not being played up enough. Basically said that you guys are front runners, and you don't practice hard enough. If you don't practice hard enough, that means you don't have a propensity to look at the details. Hence, guys coming in off and on the field, not knowing whether you have 10 or 11 guys on the field. Indecision in play calling, situational play calling, that mess in New York. God, it really doesn't matter what the game is. It's just watching how you operate. You know what I'm saying? Dude, the Giant game? I don't know. Do you really want to go over something like the Giant game? I mean, how do you get blown out by that team and you have all that money spent? How do you get killed like that? How do you get killed like that? Look at Victor. Damn, we're 11-5. And you blow at 11-5. You're 11. Dude, you're 11-6. You blow. You've lost 5 of 6, guy. And you've lost to the Jets, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and the Giants. Relax. Yeah, all right. You've lost to teams that'll be in the lottery for the NFL draft in a couple months in April. I'm awake or you. So why are the players defending Sirianni? I'm confused. Well, I'll help you out because they know he's got nothing to do with it. He's a microcosm of the problem. I don't think there's one player in that building mad at Nick Sirianni. I don't think there's one player mad at him. He's a byproduct of the bullshit from above. How could you get mad at someone for taking orders? And you know the orders are wrong. And you know he's kind of in the boat with you. I wouldn't be mad at Nick either. I would not be mad at Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni's going down with the ship. And you know what? I'm going to tell you this. That is where I'm going to give Nick Sirianni credit. For the first time in 3 years, I'm going to give Nick Sirianni some love. You ready? Now that I think about it, Nick Sirianni is going down with the ship. That's why the players are backing him. Because at least he's going down with them. Kudos to you, dude. Okay? Ray, that's not his job. His job is to be direct. His job is to be critical. His job is to coach. But in Philly, you are a cheerleader. Yes, I guess so. In Philly, no wonder Doug couldn't handle it. Man, Mike Vrabel, Mike Tomlin, all them kind of guys. Can you imagine Mike Tomlin after that mess on Monday or Sunday, sitting at the podium giving Knute Rockne speeches? Have you ever heard Mike Tomlin give a Knute Rockne speech? Or we're going to pick ourselves up off the floor. We're going to do this. I've never heard him talking shit like that ever. After wins, I hear him saying, hey, you know why we win? Because we don't let go of the rope. All of us have a piece on the rope, and it's a tug of war, the NFL. And we're going to keep pulling on the rope, and we're not going to let go. But we need everybody, all 53 guys, to pull on the rope. One guy doesn't, we all fail. That's the kind of shit he gives you. That's the kind of man that guy is. But when things go sideways, ask baby Roethlisberger and ask the kid George Pickens. Ask him how he feels. I'll tell you what, man. You know what players really respect? You know what they respect? Being told the truth. Hey, son, you need to play better. Or I'll get someone else better than you. Or how about this? I'll get someone as good as you that I can coach better. I don't give a shit. This is on you. I want coaches like that. I don't want a coach that's going to go along to get along with management. Do you want to hear something? Nick's more concerned about upstairs than he is his own locker room. Think about that. He's more concerned how he's perceived by Howie and the owner than he is by his own team. He doesn't have to worry about his team because they have, hey, get this. They like Nick. They respect Nick as a human, but they don't respect him as a coach. You know why? Why don't you think they don't respect Nick as a coach? Lurie isn't dumb. He saw how Howie ran the team since Doug. He will be aggressive with the next head coach, Harbaugh being the top target. Way out of his range. Way out of his range. Harbaugh's going to command $20 million in complete control. And if I'm Harbaugh, why do I want to listen to Howie Roseman, the little guy, when I could sit at Alabama or, at Michigan, and I could sit there and only have to deal with the president of Michigan and boosters. I don't have to answer to anybody. Why would I want to do that and I can make $20 million a year? What's the point of going to the pros so I have to answer to people when he doesn't have to answer to anybody at Michigan? Why? Because he wants to win a Lombardi trophy? That's the dumbest thing on the planet. This is about direct deposit. This isn't about plastic trophies. This is about direct deposits. Will you guys stop with that? Well, it's a challenge. He wants to have a Super Bowl. It's exactly like his. No. I want to have direct deposits. That's say $20 million. He'll get fewer years to succeed in the NFL. At Michigan, he got 6 years before he beat Ohio State. He's going to get more latitude at Michigan. It makes no sense to coach in the NFL for Jim Harbaugh. None. Why? Well, he wants to win a Lombardi trophy. That's the stupidest thing you could ever tell anybody. Legacy. Okay, really? He's 44-19-1. He's very successful as an NFL head coach. He's 17 years as a player. He just won the national championship, and he's going to make $20 million, and he doesn't have to answer to anybody for the next 10 years. What job do you want? That Michigan job or having to deal with Howie Roseman, who could fire you in a year? Give me a break. Yeah, but it's about legacy. Legacy? It's about direct deposit. My God almighty. You guys talk like you're 5 years old. Talk like adults. Adults talk with finances, paying rent, resources, and money. Children talk about toys. Okay? Children talk about toys and trophies. Adults talk about money. Especially you hear all these talking heads talking shit like he'll want to go to for what? He can make more money in the college ranks. Not have to answer to anybody. I mean, stupid. Adults talk about dough. He'll go to the Eagles. That'll be a step up. So wait a minute. You think the Eagle head coaching job is a better, oh my God. You think the Eagle head coaching job is a better job than Michigan? Do you guys think your job is a better job than the Michigan job? Yes or no? That's a college job. Do you think the Philadelphia Eagle job is a better job than a professional legacy organization like the Eagles? What job would you want to have? Head coach of the Eagles or head coach of Michigan coming off a national title win? What job would you want when you look at the history of all them coaches that have been fired in previous years? Me personally, I'd rather coach college instead of the NFL. And Tone, it's not because of anything else other than this. You get more autonomy and more freedom in the college ranks, and you can make as much money as the NFL. Do you think there's more prestige in the NFL? Probably. But remember something. Are you going to have control of your assistant coaching hires? Probably not. Are you going to have, you got personnel departments. Do you know who the personnel department is at Michigan? Jim Harbaugh. Do you understand that? That Jim Harbaugh runs the personnel department and the coaching staff at Michigan. You think he's getting that autonomy? And he runs the analytics. He got caught cheating with all those scouts. So he runs the analytics department. He runs scouting. He runs the coaching staff. And you think he'll take the Philly job? First and foremost, how about this one? You think Philly would pay him $20 million annually? Think about that. The Philadelphia Eagle job is a lesser job than the Michigan job. Because of the history they've created. Do you know what a really good job is? You know what's a better job than your job? New England. New England is a better job. You know why? Because Bob Kraft's a hell of an owner. Bob Kraft won before Belichick. He went to a Super Bowl before Belichick got there. He hired Parcells. He hired Scott Pioli. He brought all the professionals in the building and got out of the way and paid the guys. New England's a better job than the Philly job. Why? Because you fire coaches every 5 years. You fire. How many coaches has Bob Kraft had since he's owned a team in 96? 3? I think Carroll was there. Parcells was there. And Belichick. Has he? I think it's only 3 coaches he's had since he's owned a team, since he bought it, I believe, from Victor Kiam in 96. They hire and empower in New England. Chicago is a terrible job. Philadelphia is a mangling job with a lot of speed bumps to over. Nick has really had to overcome a lot of bullshit. Eagle brass will not relinquish the control period. Then what are we talking about, Mike Vrabel? I know, I threw him out because I'd love to have him. They will cite Chick Kelly as a reason not to do so and a Super Bowl win to prove that they know best. There will never be sustained success under this crew. Relative, amen. Take of the day. Yes. 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 I said your super chat, Latino. Yes. That is the take of the day. Yes. That's why you have one title in. And by the way, you're taking credit for something just like how people are doing it was more Brady than Belichick. It was more Doug than Howie. Howie tell you the different, though. It's different. See, you got to remember something. He's trying to erase the memory of Doug Peterson as much as he possibly can so that he can get credit. And you know what happened last year when they made it to the Super Bowl? Think of the 2 things in those 2 Super Bowls on what was the direct result of why you won and lost. You won because of coaching. You lost because of coaching. You can build it. You can't sustain it. Here, follow me. You can't sustain it because you're missing the draft. That's ego. Howie will either replace coordinators, keep Nick, or replace Nick with next underqualified shill. Best case, a new shill actually knows ball. Dude. But by the way, do you know what they're expecting in television viewership for that game last night, that national title game? You know the semifinal game's got 35 million people watching it? You know the top 100 television shows in 2023 were all football. All football. All football. NBA was nowhere. World Series, I think, was somewhere in there. The rest of it was national title, college games, and NFL games. The television deals that are being, there's a reason the Pac-12 is going away because of the money that's being spent. They're going to get 50 million people watching that thing last night. Advertisers aren't going to the NBA. And it's not because the NBA is not a good product. It's the people putting it on. I don't want to be told who to vote for. I just want to watch a basketball game. Okay, that's why the TNT guys kill it. They have fun with it. ESPN tries to give you a directive. They've destroyed it. How many teams? Let's go down the list. Is the Miami Dolphin job better than the Eagle job? No, it's the same because the stupid-ass owner, Stephen Ross, is dumb. They got Chris Greer in the building, and they get in the way. Chris Greer is a really good GM, though. It's how about this one? Is the Eagle job better than the Cowboy job? I think they're the same. I think they're the same. I think they're the same. Howie's in the way, Jerry's in the way. What's different? What's the difference? Jerry hires the coaches, Howie hires the coaches. Jerry hires the head coach. Howie and the owner hire the head coach. What's the difference? They miss on draft picks. Actually, they're not that bad on draft picks. Jim Harbaugh to the Eagles is a joke. One, you don't have the structure in your organization to hire a guy like that. Secondly, you don't have the balls to do it. Thirdly, you wouldn't surrender the control to do it. I know you guys like to play fantasy football sometimes, and a lot of you are Madden players, but take that out of your realm of possibilities. You'd have to fire the entire front office to hire Jim Harbaugh. You'd have to fire everybody. And get this, any NFL team that hires him will have to fire everybody if you get him in the building. Why wouldn't Laurie put Howie back in the closet? Because I said it before, and I'll say it again. And my friend LJ keeps bringing it up, and he's right. This guy does a great job at contract and constructing contracts. By the way, that's his forte. He's a capologist guy. That's who he is. He's a salary cap guy. He's not a personnel guy. He's never been a personnel guy. Hence why he fails in the draft. Your last 3 drafts have brought you nothing but big name schools. They have brought you nothing. Okay? Devontae Smith, yes. The rest of them, nothing. Nothing. Zero. Carter has a future. Okay. Davis, he flamed out. Dude, it's not 13 games in the NFL. It's 17 plus the playoffs. You got to get your fat ass in shape. It's 20 games to win a Super Bowl. Okay? It's 20 games. Sometimes 21. Get your fat ass in shape. This guy's playing at college. This guy still thinks he's in college. 13th game of the season, that was it. Ripcord pulled. This guy went through the trap door. This guy's on a milk carton somewhere. Carter, I get it. You see the great ability he has. I'll give that kid a pass. The rest of them, where are you? Dude, you have nothing in the building to build your future with, especially on defense. You got 2 tackles. The rest of it is all mercenaries and trash cans. Come on now. That Eagle job is not a good job. Eagles' job sucks when Lane and Kelsey retire. Get this. An outsider's going to go, well, shit. Look at Sirianni's record. 3 straight playoffs. Why is he on the hot seat? Because he's not really a coach. The tradition of micromanaging goes all the way back to Joe Banner. It's more than just Roseman era. You're right. It's Jeffrey Lurie. But here's the one thing, Mike, that I told Tone yesterday. Here's the one thing. Jeffrey Lurie did pull the ripcord and go and get a college guy. Now, remember something here. Chip was just the wrong hire. But he has done it. There is a sample size of it. And someone goes like this. They'll never go back and do that again. I hate people like that. That's like saying, well, if I draft a shitty wide receiver, I'm not going to draft Devontae Smith. Keep taking swings until you get it. And hopefully you don't have to take too many swings to lose your job. Remember something, though, folks. Howie Roseman's not in the building because he's a talent evaluator. You know what? I think right here, Tone, everyone, I think this is the biggest misnomer. Howie Roseman's not in the building because he is a roster builder. He's in the building because he knows how to balance the salary cap and he knows how to build a roster through finances. That's the only reason he's in the building. It's not because he's some psycho great talent evaluator like you have. What's that guy's name up in Detroit? What's his name? Hughes? Is that guy's name Hughes that's running Detroit right now? Because that guy in Detroit is landing on 3 or 4 players every single year. Every year since they traded Matthew Stafford. Every year. They're building a foundation. I'll tell you this, no doubt in my mind, Detroit's going to be a great franchise for a long time. For a long time. You know why? They got a ton of great players on rookie deals. They got a ton of great players. Who do you have on a rookie deal on the defensive side that's good? The 2 tackles. Who else? That's good. Who else? That's a great future in Detroit. It's a great future. You know why? They're bringing talent in the draft. They're going to be able to balance their salary cap. Howie can't. That's why he can't sustain what Jeff Kerr said. Was it last week? He can't sustain success because he misses too much in the drafts, overpays for free agents. He's better in pro personnel. Okay? Look at all those great draft picks that they have collected in the last 3 years in Detroit. Got better and better every year. I don't know what their future is this year. I don't. I think they're ahead of schedule. You know, for them to have done what they have done this year, I'm kind of surprised. I think next year and the year after, that's going to be when you're going to start to see everything really. Hey, and by the way, Jared Goff is maybe the most underrated quarterback in the league. He might be the most underrated quarterback that has played. And he gets to play against the Rams who got rid of him. Who would have thought that the Rams would have to travel to Detroit to play Jared Goff's NFC North champion Lions? Crazy great. Got a great head coach. By the way, let me ask you something about Dan Campbell versus your guy, Nick Pinocchio. Let's do this here. Would you rather have a coach that goes for 2, 3 times in a row, or a coach that coaches with a headset that's connected to the analytics department? Who'd you rather play for? Guy takes accountability for losing? Him solely? Or the people upstairs that are directing your puppet coach? Who'd you rather play for? Hey, was Dan wrong? Yeah. Ain't no analytics. You know what going for 2 was 3 times? Hey, coach, let's run Philly, Philly. Go ahead. Dan Campbell's more like Doug Peterson. Players want to play for Doug Peterson, Dan Campbell. They don't want to play for bookworms. They want to play for people that win. And get this, they want to play for people that win. Not 11 wins. Get this. Let's put this out here. And I told you this was going to happen to you. So 14-3, 11-6. You're 25-9 at the conclusion of this year. You may get beat by the Bucs in the regular season. And you ain't got shit to show for it. What's the point? You might as well be 9-25. What's the point? What's the point of being 25-9 when you ain't got shit to show for it? You're kind of good? Wow. That's an attitude I didn't think resided in that city. Hey, you're 25-9. And that's like telling me the Sixers are going to win 50 games but get bounced in the opening round. You know what I would say? That's a losing season again. Trust the process. Okay, Josh. You see, give me a 55 wins, you get bounced in the opening round. I don't care about 55 wins. Everyone's all going crazy. You think John Tortorella cares about his record? I know John. I covered John for 5 years in Tampa. John Tortorella doesn't give a shit about anything but Stanley Cups. You know how hard he coached Javi Bullen? Nikolai Javi Bullen couldn't stand John Tortorella because John Tortorella was always on his ass. Marty St. Louis couldn't stand him. Vinny LeCavier couldn't stand him. But you know what they did? They respected him. Look at this guy here. Prayer goes, there's an NFC championship out of that. Congratulations for your silver medal. The Philadelphia citizens celebrating silver medals now. Congratulations to you, kid. I guess you can hang that silver medal right over the Rocky statue. Look good on him. I thought Rocky fought for the heavyweight championship, not for showing up. Congratulations to you. You might as well put that silver medal right there over the Rocky statue. Celebrating second place trophies. Damn. You actually have people in that city that celebrate that shit? I do have a ring. I have won a championship. Sorry, Callie. I have won a championship. Have you? Let me guess. You're flag football guys somewhere down in South Philly, right? Running around with flags on your belts. It's okay. I count that. I guess. No. Here, Tone, should I do it? Well, here's one natty. Here's another natty. Here's an ACC championship we won. There's a couple natties. See if I put them on there like this. Put them on there like that. How's that look? Tone, how's that look? Then we got to turn this way because you got to make sure everybody sees it. How's that look? Think that looks okay? Checking. He asked me if I won a championship. Have you? How's that look? Yeah, I like that, Shooter. Shooter goes, hey, Sills, you look like a Boston Celtic guy. As a matter of fact, that does look like, hey, I look like Bill Russell. Look at that. It looks like Bill Russell. How's that there, man, right? Looks like Bill Russell. They made a pretty big deal out of them natties last night. I was like, damn. I guess we did something accomplished. Yeah, Flex, it's all good, man. Hey, I had to because I love bringing them out sometimes. Okay? Those ain't college participation trophies, jackass. Those are winning it all. Those ain't participation. Those are winning it. How you doing? All right. Let's do this. What are the ramifications of Monday night's game? What's the ramifications? What's the ramifications? Do you really think they'll fire? Okay? The offense looked better with Mariota. No, it did. Stop with that, please. Please. The backup quarterback is the most famous quarterback on every NFL football team. Okay? Okay? Now, the backup Mariota is a nobody. I'll tell you what I did like. Here's something that I thought Gary Cobb brought up yesterday that a lot of people haven't brought up. They should bring in a veteran guy that has won and have him sit behind Jalen. He's the only guy that could talk to him and tell him, you know, perfect guy would have been. You had him too, is Flacco. And sitting him behind Hurts. What are you saying? What are you doing? Hey, don't worry about that. You're going to have to make a different call on that. Have a guy like that in his ear. If you're going to put shitty coaches around him, don't put shitty backups behind him. Marcus Mariota's a nobody. Put somebody that's got some context. If you're going to pay your quarterback $50 million, there's another position they failed at. I don't care Marcus Mariota kind of looks like him. Jalen Hurts needs to have someone talk to him, especially when you have incompetent coaches around him. Put someone there that's been there. Put someone there that has had tough times, has gone through down times, has gone through winning moments. Have a quarterback in the building there that's been that has been around winning. Matt Ryan, shit, I'll tell you what, I'd like to have had Phillip Rivers as his backup. Can you imagine Phillip Rivers, what the impact he would have had sitting there as his backup? How much he would have helped? But then again, that's something that the organization would probably balk at. They wouldn't want any meddling or interference. Dude, Nick Foles would be a great backup for Jalen Hurts. But there'd be too much drama behind it. They got enough drama in the building now. Okay? They need to get that kid some help. Let me tell you something. If Jalen Hurts goes to Tampa and he looks horrible, you're going to have question marks and they're going to look at him the same way they looked at Carson Wentz. And you know what the conversation is going to be? You paid him too soon. And then get this. You're going to be all the way back to the beginning of 2022 with Jalen Hurts. Is he the guy? You think he's the guy. But like I said, you've had completely different years in Jalen Hurts. The 21 year, the 22 year, the 23 year, all completely different. And the swings have been crazy. He was okay. In 21, he wasn't special. 22, he was special. This year, he's not special. Is it coaching? Okay, I'll give you hey, I want to give him the latitude. I want to give him the benefit. I really do. And I'm going to. I'm not indicting the kid. But they are three faces of Eve here. Okay? I mean, who are you? Well, I'm going to go back to the growth of 21 and 22. That's old news, dude. That's old news. Who are you now? March 17th, $50 million starts getting paid to you and direct deposited. Who are you? Who are you, dude? I'll tell you what, he goes into week 8 of next year and he's still turning the ball over. You'll start to hear the whispers they paid him too soon. Remember I told you, man, black quarterbacks don't get a lot of autonomy and a lot of runway. He's going to get criticized immensely. Shit, they were calling Dak Prescott to be fired last year, to calling him a turnover machine. I looked it up. Dak Prescott's not a turnover machine. He was a turnover machine last year. Jalen Hurts is a turnover machine in 2023. Is he a turnover machine? No. He's had more turnovers this year than the last 2 years combined. Does that make him a turnover machine? Josh Allen's a turnover machine because every year he's turned the ball over 15 times or more. That's a turnover machine. But what saves that guy's ass, he puts 45 touchdowns on the board and throws for 4,500 yards. And he's won the AFC East 4 years in a row. That's what saves him. That's what saves Allen. He wins. Dude, Dak Prescott's going to finish second when it comes to when it comes to the MVP voting. Why? Because he's a Cowboy. Because he's a Dallas Cowboy. We're going to do the top 10 teams. And we're going to do the MVP race. I'm not sure we'll do the quarterbacks today. We may. We may do the quarterbacks as well. But this is the final regular season one. Merrill Reese will join us at 3:30 Eastern time, the legendary voice. And he said he hasn't felt anything like this since Doug was fired. So Merrill's going to join us. And he said that on IP today. Okay. And we will talk to him at 3:30. Tone will be moved to 4:30 for his segment. Ron Jaworski's tomorrow too, by the way. All right. Want to tell you guys about our great friends at Hooters. I mean, absolutely great specials. I told you about Tuesdays, buy 10 wings, get 10 free. Our great lunch specials, Monday through Friday, 10:30 to 3 p.m., boneless wings. You get yourself some boneless wings. Absolutely awesome. Monday through Friday, 4 to 6, 6 items, $6. Great specials that we have. Great times. The calendars are out too. 2024 calendars are out. There's $100 in gift coupons that are inside the calendars. Do me a favor. Go to northeasthooters.com. That's northeasthooters.com. And when you roll in, do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you. Let's go to break, Tone. Tone, let's go to break. Well, how are you doing? We're trying to get the break here. We might be frozen up here a little bit. Thank you, Camel. Can we go to break?
football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
Any professional sports coach will tell you there's no substitution for preparation. At Malamut & Associates, that is a tenet by which we live. We prepare from day one for victory. Anything less is not acceptable.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their Fantasy Pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Looks like people are getting a little upset with Big Sills over on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show because I would like the Eagles to fire Nick Sirianni on Tuesday of next week and hire Mike Vrabel. I don't care. By the way, I'm sick and tired of this guy too, Quez Watkins. Quizzy Watkins goes on his Instagram, I'll forever believe in myself. Dude, you don't belong in an NFL uniform. You are awful. You don't fight for anything. You barely fight for your job. The only reason is because you're a track athlete. Other than that, you have horrible hands. You have horrible field awareness. Why you're on that team, I have no idea. You are not good. You are not good. And get this. Why in the world would the Philadelphia Eagles have guys like Kenny Gainwell and Quizzy Watkins and target those guys at any time on a football field when you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and DeAndre Swift and Dallas Goedert? Why in the world would you want the ball in those guys' hands at any other time? Why in the world would you even think about putting the ball in their hands? I mean, hey, kid, it's good to believe in yourself, but believe in what? You're lying to yourself. You're not that good. He's not a good player. He is not worthy to be in an Eagle uniform. He doesn't fight for anything. He was terrible in that Super Bowl. The Dallas Cowboy game last year showed you what he would fight for. Nothing. Man. That guy shares a wide receiver room with Devontae Smith. Are you crazy? But this just goes to Javon Hargrave. They must like soft people in the building. Javon Hargrave says that the Eagles have a great kumbaya attitude. Kumbaya. Man. Now, look here. I got to be careful here because I don't want to come off like old man on the lawn stuff. Do I think you can kick players' asses today and scream at them, pull their face mask, slap them in the helmet, grab them and tell them and swear at them, call them names? Say, no, I do not. And nor do I think that that is something of a coaching style. But do you think Tony Dungy did that? Tony Dungy's a man of God. He's been on our program. You think Tony Dungy was swearing and grabbing guys by the face mask and yanking guys' helmets and all that? He wasn't doing any of that shit. You think Jimmy Johnson did any of that? I've never seen Jimmy Johnson put his hands on a player in my entire time around him. And I've known him 35 years. I've never seen that. You don't have to coach that way anymore. And players today don't want to be coached like that. And I get it. But you got to have some conviction in how you handle yourselves. Okay? Seals, what do you think about Rodgers? Do you think he chases UFOs? I don't care. Chase wins. Hey, Tyson. Here's my opinion on Aaron Rodgers. He could chase tooth fairies. As long as he wins MVPs and wins me a Super Bowl, he could chase the tooth fairy. I don't care. Has no bearing in my life about his attitude. That's for you to worry about what he thinks of and who his mannerism, and that's for you to be a so-called pseudo-psychologist. And by the way, did you get a load of that interview this morning on WIP with one of the morning guys asking Nick Sirianni a question that said this? Hey, Nick, how are you holding up? How are you doing? I was like, that's a question a psychologist would ask a patient. Remember I told you that the other day? Talk show hosts sometimes think they're psychologists and psychiatrists. I don't give a shit how Nick feels. Coach the team. Get a win. Whether you feel good or not, you make $7 million a year. I don't give a shit how you feel. You think anybody cares how Jalen Hurts feels if he plays bad? No one cares. Hey, Nick, how are you feeling? That was the weakest question and the biggest pom-pom question I have ever heard in my life asked to a reigning NFL head coach. How are you feeling? Look, dude, I know you want to get in the building for them Slurpee things or whatever it is, but do you have to walk around on your knees like that for the team just to stay in the good graces? Holy cow, is that embarrassing? Seriously, I had to turn it off because I was embarrassed for the guy. Asking a question, how are you holding up? Who cares? Who cares? It's Philly. Hey, how do you feel when you you're not able to get to your mason job or your roofing job or your tile job? You all right? How you feeling? Why don't you take the day off? Well, I don't get paid then. That's all right. Man, how are you feeling, Nick? Are you feeling all right? Is it okay? Whew. It's really embarrassing. How's this taking a toll on you? That's not a question. I don't care. Nick, do you fear for your job? Here's the questions I ask. Hey, Nick, you worried about your job? You worried about the psyche of the team? Are you focused enough to win this game against Tampa Monday night? Do you think it was a mistake going to Desai or from Desai to Patricia? And do you think you'll go back? Those are questions you should be asked, not how are you feeling and how is this taking a toll on you? Those aren't questions. That's not a question. That's an enabling question. I've been doing this for 35 years. Never asked a question to a coach or to a player, how's this affecting you? You ask a guy, how's this affecting you during contract negotiations? But in a 5-game or a 5 or 6 game losing streak, asking how the coach feels is not something I'm on. Hold on. You got the toughest city in the country, and you have a guy asking you one of the softest questions in the history of sports broadcasting. That must have played well. I don't even know who he is, so I don't care. But I'm just saying. Now I know why more people come here each and every single day. Because you'll never get some shit like that asked. How is this taking a toll on you? I don't care. People want to know what you're going to do. How are you going to make it better? What's the number one thing you have to do to your team to connect? Have you lost the locker room? Those are things people want to know, not how you're feeling. I mean, not another Philly fan. The liberal Philly media is not tough. Used to be. Angelo's killing it when he comes on our show. His hits are killing it. They're still killing it. Every week he kills it. I know why now. You know what? People write on my Twitter page, this guy sucks. And he'll still get 35,000 views. He'll get 20,000 views on my Twitter clips that James puts up. They still go to him. 10% of you call him and say he sucks, and 90% listen to him. It's quite comical. The final regular season top 10 NFL teams. I don't have the Eagles on this list. At number 10, I have the Texans. I don't think you could beat the Texans. I think C.J. Stroud has had a spectacular year. And if he was a 2-year veteran or 3-year veteran, he'd get more love and more consideration for the MVP award. You know, I should probably put the Eagles 9 or the Texans 9 because here, do I believe in the Dolphins more than the Eagles? You know what? I'm gonna make an asterisk here. I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna put the Texans at 9 and the Eagles at 10. Because you know why? At least the Eagles beat them and have beaten some good teams this year. And the Dolphins are a phony Rolex. So I'm gonna be fair here to this. I mean, you could say whatever you want about an 11-win football team, but I look at that 11-win football team and I go, Sills, what looks more fraudulent, the Eagles or the Dolphins? The Dolphins. The Dolphins are more fraudulent. The Eagles have beaten the Chiefs. The Eagles have beaten the Dolphins. They've beaten the Cowboys. They've beaten the Bills. They've beaten the Rams. They've beaten the Bucks. The Vikings and Cousins were having a great year. You know, Cousins had like 20 touchdowns or something like that. Am I right when I say that before he got injured? Was he like 17 touchdowns or some psycho number like that? He had some crazy numbers. Was it Cousins having like some like career year when the Eagles beat him? Right? I mean, he had like 17 touchdowns, 2 picks or something. They were going to the playoffs. Before he got hurt, they were going to the playoffs. Merrill Reese is going to join us at 3:30. Yeah, so I'm going to dem this. And I'm going to put the Eagles at 10 because I think the Eagles are more real than the Dolphins. I'm taking the Dolphins off my top 10. 18 touchdowns, 5 picks. Was that like in 6 games or something like that before he got injured? Dude, he was throwing the ball around the building. I got the Chiefs at 8. I've got the Rams at 7. You're going to be crazy when I say this, but I got the Packers at 6. I think if I'm Dallas, you should be on high alert for that Packers team. Jordan Love in the last 8 games has thrown 18 touchdowns and 1 pick. You might want to think a little harder about preparing for that game. I think the quarterback is playing better. I think dude, he threw for 32 touchdowns. Jordan Love has had a better season than Matthew Stafford. Jordan Love has really come on over the last 8 games. I don't think you're giving that guy enough love. Look at his touchdowns. He's thrown for 4,000 yards. I mean, the guy is. How about this? The first year starting versus Aaron Rodgers' first year starting. This kid's had a better first year starting than what Rodgers did. This guy can play. I got the Lions at 5. I got the Cowboys at 4. Imagine Sills and Seth attending a post-game loss. They'd never call on us, Joshua. Just so you know, they'd never call on us. What if the Eagles woke up? Would that shock you, Sills? Would that shock you if the Eagles woke up? Kelsey Lane, Jalen, Devontae, AJ, Brandon, Fletcher. God, they're so really strong guys. I really admire those men. Those men are all fab. Jason Kelsey. Those men are really great, superstar, NFL, legendary players. Have put great years in. You know what you love about it too? Could they wake up? But here's the thing. Why should I give them should you give them the benefit of the doubt? I'm not talking to coaches. Should you give the players the benefit of the doubt for the game Monday night? 10-year veteran Brandon Graham, 10-year veteran Fletcher Cox, 10-year veteran Lane Johnson, 10-year veteran Jason Kelsey. Man. I'm going to say I would be shocked. I would be shocked. So let me pick this up. I got Eagles 10, Texans 9, Chiefs 8, Rams 7, Packers 6, Lions 5. I've got the Cowboys 4. I've got the Bills 3. I've got the 49ers 2. And I've got the Ravens 1. So the way I have it shaping up going into the playoffs, Ravens and Bills for the AFC Championship, Cowboys and Niners in Santa Clara for the NFC Championship. I don't believe the Lions are ready. I think the Eagles are on flames. I think the Chiefs are out of gas. I think the Rams don't have enough to win consecutive games. And I think the Texans are just too young to know how good they are. Same with the Packers. The Packers could upset the Cowboys, though. And could that open the door for the Eagles? If the Packers upset the Cowboys, does that give them a road for them? But that means that the way it's shaping out now, the playoffs would go this way. If Green Bay upsets them and Detroit beats the Rams and Philly, Green Bay would play San Francisco. And Dallas would play Philly, am I right? That sound right? It would go San Francisco. If Green Bay beats Dallas, Green Bay would play San Francisco in the divisional round. Detroit holds serve. Philly is the wild card. They would play the 2 seed. It'd be Dallas and Philly. In Dallas. My first question to Merrill Reese will be the question that was asked to him today. And I'm going to phrase it. I go, Merrill, I heard you on IP today, and I heard you say that you haven't felt this way since the year Doug was fired. Could you expand on that? Man, have you ever seen something? I'm trying to. Do you guys remember that Steeler team a couple of years ago that started 11-0 and had a nuclear meltdown? They were like 11-0 under Tomlin, and then they limp home with like 6 losses, and they had something like that. And Tomlin said that we were rotten from within. It was something, and I'm paraphrasing that. I guess sometimes, man, when you listen, sometimes the littlest thing can send your organization and your football team. Was there one thing player-wise that you remember in these last 6 games that I heard Dallas Goedert make a comment once we clinched the playoff spot. We throttled down. I'm not sure I believe that. That doesn't look like an organization that throttles down. If Philly does win, they have one less day of rest. They'll play Saturday, probably, you think? Probably so. They'll probably play on Saturday. The Goddard comment coincides with Hardgrave's comment. Hardgrave calling the organization, and I'm blanketing it, soft or kumbaya. Hey, once we got the playoff spot, we rolled back and we decided to throttle back. That's coaching. You got the wrong jockey. Jesus criminy. This is more of a direction disaster than I thought. You got guys saying comments that are all over the place. Javon Hardgrave, you're soft. Hassan Reddick's comments last week. Hey, play what's called. You're like, hey, we throttled down after we won a playoff spot. Where's the internal leadership? Where's Jalen Hurts in this? It's becoming sad. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure what else to say. We haven't talked football in 3 weeks here about the upcoming opponent. And we're outsiders. And they're inside not talking football. Eagles preparing for the 49ers on 5 days. Good luck. Think about this. We're on the outside talking about the internal issues they have going on inside. And so are the players. If you think Hurts is the problem anyway, then you're a clown. $50 million doesn't mean you're a scapegoat. Hurts earned his money. No, he didn't. Hurts has not earned his money. You earn your money and you validate your contract when you win a Super Bowl. That includes everybody who's a $50 million guy. You haven't validated anything. Dak Prescott is being evaluated. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, all of them. There's only one guy. Stop using the word elite. You're elite and you validate your contract when you deliver the Lombardi trophy. That's when you have validated your contract. Until then, rest of it's noise. It's noise. 17 games and 3 different dichotomy years from Jalen Hurts does not validate anything. Do you see potential stardom in the kid? Yes. Do you like his makeup? Yes. Do you like him as the face of your franchise? Absolutely. Do you like his hard work and tangibles? Damn sure. That doesn't get you $50 million, though. Dude, that's a front-running football team. You guys can't dig your way out of trouble. You haven't shown it yet. Show me you can dig your way. Hey, do you know if you beat the Bucs Monday, do you know what that's going to tell me? I don't know if you guys agree with me. Hey, you dug your way out of some shit. But get this. You know what you're going to say on Monday if you win? See, Sills, I told you they'd get it right. Hey, congratulations for doing your job and beating the Bucks, you're going to want to have kudos and lowering your expectations to beating the Bucks. How far the mighty have fallen. Beating the Bucks. Congratulations to you. You beat a team you should be beating anyway. Thanking me for not robbing a bank. Talk about BS. Bad weather coming up? Okay. You want to get kudos for that. If we beat the Bucks convincingly, that would show some hope. Did anybody catch Howie after the Arizona game via NBC Philadelphia postgame? He looked like a lost puppy walking into a locker room. It's on his ass. No, it's not. This is not. I'm going to tell you guys something before I bring my friend on. There have been some of the greatest broadcasters that we have had on here. We've had Howard Eskin on. Angelo comes on every Monday now, and he visits with us every single Monday. Gary Cobb comes on with us. And I'll tell you something. Every single time Merrill Reese comes on, if you listen to Merrill Reese on a broadcast, he is the fairest play-by-play man. And I think it's because you build the equity up that you have because of how people perceive you. Some of you in here, and as we become one of the most watched shows in Philly, you grew up with this man's voice. And I'm so privileged that he's able to come on with us when he can. And he's never said no to me. And we appreciate the legendary voice coming on with us right now, Merrill Reese. Hopefully you had a great holiday, Merrill. Thank you for doing this, my friend.
Thank you, Dan. It's good to be with you.
Merrill, I'm going to start out with a tough question because I heard you on WIP this morning. And I heard you when someone asked you the question, forgive me who asked it to you, but someone asked you the question, when's the last time you felt something like this during this game span where you've lost 5 of 6? And you said the last year that Doug was in Philadelphia. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, that was a free fall at the end of the season where they lost a bunch of games in a row. I don't remember a year, however, that started out the way this one did, with a 10-1 record, and the one loss seemed like an outlier to the Jets. Everyone stumbles once in a while. But they were sitting atop the National Football League, and everybody thought, this is the team. This is the best team in the National Football League. And then the roof fell in. I mean, what has gone on now for the last 6 weeks is almost unfathomable.
How about this, Merrill? Let's go with, if you look at Kansas City's been to 5 straight AFC championship games. They've been to Super Bowls in that span. I believe 3 of them, winning 2 of them. I think that organization also is out of gas. Do you think you get to a point where you play? You got to remember, some teams end their season this last week. You guys last year played football until the end of February, almost March. And then you go into with the expectations. And for 3 straight years, you've been playing playoff football. Can it just be that age and turnover on the roster eventually caught up after the 10-1 start? And that's kind of where we are right now, that things just collided and that's where it is? Or do you think it's something else?
I don't know. I mean, this is the first time I can honestly sit here and say to you, Dan, I don't know. I can talk about the mistakes. I can talk about the fact that almost every playoff team is plus something in differential, in turnover differential. I can't imagine a team, even this one with an 11-6 record, being minus 11 in turnover differential, in double figures in turnover differential. They know they rarely take the ball away. and they give it away at an alarming rate. That's one thing. I have not lost my faith in Jalen Hurts at all. I think he's a great quarterback. I think the entire offense does not run the way it ran while they were coming together with those 10 wins. There were a lot of people seeing signs early because they weren't blowing teams out. You know that.
Yeah.
They were squeaking through. That didn't bother me because to me, the phrase I used was, this team knows how to win. And the word I used often, and it's not original because I'm sure it was in headlines and in people's vocabulary every week, this team is resilient. Well, they've lost that resilience, and they have not shown that they have the knack for winning. In fact, they let wins slip through their fingers. Wins disappear. I mean, imagine a 20-3 halftime lead against the Giants 3 weeks ago, and it dissipates, and they end up having to hang on for dear life through the last play of the game to beat the Giants, and then leading Arizona 21-6 at halftime the following week. And that one was lost at the end. That team, that in that game, they never forced Arizona to punt. Not once. Poor Britton Covey sat there, the punt returner, watching the game. He never got off the bench. There wasn't one stop. Now, I understand things like that can happen against the 49ers, which, by the way, they did. Eagles couldn't stop them at all. But against Arizona, against a 3-12 Cardinals team, to blow a 21-6 lead, to me, this is inexplicable.
Merrill, I listen to you, and I listen to you each and every single weekend when it comes to broadcasting the games on the IP app. And I got to tell you, I felt you. I felt you, and I felt your angst. I could not believe it was 2 minutes into the Giants game on Sunday, and it just looked like there was, dare I say it, it just was a lack of intensity and effort, and there's nothing to quantify that. I mean, the Cowboy-Washington game, Merrill, was still in question going into at least in the middle of the second quarter. You didn't know what – I think even Washington had a 10-0 lead.
No, they had a 10-7 lead. It was 7-7, and then Washington went ahead, 10-7.
And I'm going like, well, there's still a debate on whether or not to sit the guys. And here was – and I heard it in your voice and in Mike Quick's voice. It just seemed to be – and I wonder where that comes from. It just looked like mentally exhausted being out there.
But I know that Nick Sirianni spoke to the team the night before, and he really came across with the feeling that this was a very important game. And there are people, there were columnists who said that they should be resting the players, getting ready for the playoffs. I don't know how you could rest players. They didn't earn a rest, Dan. They had lost at that point 4 of the last 5 games. That's not earning a rest. You have to show, to me, you can't go into the playoffs as they are going in, as it turns out, having lost 5 of the last 6 games. You've got to go into the playoffs feeling good about yourselves, knowing that you have the offense in sync and the defense is stopping people. You want to go to that playoff game feeling that you're ready. Now let's build upon this. And they didn't. They let it all slip away, and they looked like they had no answers. I'm being honest with you.
I know you are, and you are honest in your broadcasting all the time. I mean, I think you're the greatest play-by-play guy I've heard in the last 30 years. I mean, the way you do it, you and Brad Sham, I love the way Brad calls Cowboy games as well. But I want to throw something at you that Gary Cobb said yesterday about Jalen Hurts. You know what? It just seems that there is a stack of bricks on his shoulder this year. And he's such a young player, Merrill, that this is what Gary said. You imagine putting the starting job of the Philadelphia Eagles first and foremost, which is going to be a ton of bricks. Then you put $250 million on top of that ton of bricks. You're talking about massive pressure, expectations. He goes, I would like to have seen a veteran quarterback. So when he walks off the field, what are you saying? Somebody he can talk to, that he can sit there and there's a first-year coordinator. There's a first-year, I know they've been in the building, quarterback coach. You got Marcus Mariota, who is struggling to stay in the league himself. It just seemed Gary's like he needs more of a support system around him because it's just bigger than football. Gary's notion was, you think there's any truth to that? Because it's an awful lot, Merrill. A lot of money and a lot of expectations, and you're coming off a Super Bowl run.
You know, I think the world of Gary. I think Gary is a very, very intelligent guy, and I agree with a lot of the things that he does say. I think he's a terrific analysis student of the game, but I don't agree with him about the money. I don't think I know Jalen Hurts, and yes, certainly every quarterback, every player wants to make as much as he possibly can. But once that contract is over, I think that is far from Jalen Hurts' mind. He is a guy who is dedicated, who is the first one at the stadium in the morning, who is the last one to leave, who puts everything he has into every game. I mean, he is really, really special. Yes, you want the money, but that's not what he lives for. He lives for playing winning football. And I just think it's not just Jalen Hurts, it's the whole offense isn't working the way it did a year ago.
Merrill, I'm not going to have you sit here and be a play-by-play general manager and question decisions that were made, but I'm going to ask you an opinion. Do you think it was too much confusion when they went from Desai to Matt Patricia, that it caused a little bit of, especially, and at the time you got to think about it, Merrill, you were 10-3. You know, we're not talking about, and he had beaten Desai, the Chiefs, and the Dolphins. He had stopped really good offenses. Okay, the Cowboys. But as you and I know, it's a week-to-week league. That's why every time I ask you, are they the best team in the league? Well, I don't know. You know, maybe week 15 they are, maybe week 18 they are. I don't know because it's a week-to-week. But do you think that created a little bit of some of maybe the wobbling that's going on here down the stretch?
I don't know. I can only say that if you look at the statistics, it hasn't worked. It has not been a positive. It hasn't been a move where, boom, all of a sudden. I mean, you know, what was it? There are Buffalo changed offensive coordinators, right?
Right.
When they were at their lowest point, and all of a sudden they started winning.
They went from Dorsey to Joe Brady.
Yeah, that hasn't been the effect. And I think back in what was it years ago when Baltimore, when Harbaugh changed offensive coordinators in the Super Bowl year, Cam Cameron, I think, left, and they changed. It worked. In this case, they made a move, and there has been no positive effect. I'm not saying anything negative about Matt Patricia, and I also think Sean Desai is a bright, defensive coach, but there has not been a benefit. There has not been any kind of benefit coming out of that move.
Do you think Jalen Hurts has regressed this year?
No. I think a lot of people might tell you yes. I'm going to tell you no.
The turnovers don't bug you?
Well, some of the turnovers, Dan, if you want to talk about it, were deflected passes, pressure in his face, Hail Marys at the end of games, which you don't have when you're winning, that turn into interceptions. I think that's an inflated figure. I think the more revealing figure is the fact that he has played a part in 38 touchdowns, second only to Josh Allen. He's between touchdown passes and touchdown runs, 38. That's way up there. And his passing percentage is certainly not bad. And I think he's the same Jalen Hurts with a different offense.
You want to hear a crazy stat that we were talking about last week? Between Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, there's over 100 first downs just running the ball.
Yeah.
And there's over 80 touchdowns combined between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's amazing.
That absolutely is. I would love to get a couple last questions for you, Merrill. I would love to get your thoughts because, boy, I'll tell you one thing about your city. They'll love you on Monday, and they can hate you on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
For dang sure. Boy, I tell you, man, that is Philly in a nutshell right here. Are you shocked that you're hearing a lot of people talking about Angelo? And I'll tell you, Angelo said on Monday that they should fire Nick Sirianni on Tuesday. Do you think people like that and other folks who are making those comments, and that's Angelo's opinion, there's a bunch of people with other opinions that say that's crazy.
But
Three straight playoffs? Just your take.
No, listen. It's just MO. It's just what happens here all the time. You said they love you on Monday, they on Friday. They don't love you on Monday and hate you on Friday. They love you on Monday and then maybe hate you the next Monday because you have to get through another game. They don't change when the games aren't being played. But I think I think it all comes down to passion. I do. I think that's the word passion. They love this team so much that if they win a game, if you win on Sunday, it could be pouring outside, but Monday is still sunny. And if they lose a game, it could be the most glorious day on Monday and people are walking around with their heads down. So I just think that's the passion. And I think that's part of Angelo being Angelo. And he gives you those opinions and he reacts the way a great talk show host reacts. And there's no one like Angelo to stir you up and get you going. And he's a knowledgeable guy. He's a brilliant guy. And he's a great guy. And I think he's terrific. But Angelo's going to give you that from the heart reaction very, very quickly.
He's got a new name for himself. He comes on the program every Monday and goes, I'm Nostradamus now. So he calls himself he calls himself that near. All right.
Terrific. I'm a fan.
Oh yeah, no, I love the guy a lot, man. I do. I admire him a lot. Final question for you. Do you think they can change the narrative on Monday?
Yeah.
Beat this Bucs team and the leadership in the locker room? Do you think they could make this a whole new season?
See, I think you said something that I agree with wholeheartedly. I think at some point, the coach's message the day before the game stops shaking the windows. I'm not saying that Nick doesn't plan that out well, and I'm not saying that he doesn't come up with a unique way to approach the team and to inspire them to the best of his ability. But I think there's a certain point where a coach's words, regardless of who that coach is, ring hollow. And I think there's a point where you have to get the guys who were part of that march behind a backup quarterback at the end of 2017 that took the team behind a backup quarterback into Super Bowl 52 and knocked off Tom Brady and the mighty New England Patriots. You've got to take those guys who've been around and have them affect the younger players, the less experienced players. You've got to have them take over that locker room and instill confidence and desire and just an indomitable spirit going into Monday night's game. If they can do that without any coach, if they can do that, I honestly believe, now maybe I'm seeing the glass half full, honestly believe the Eagles are a more talented team than the Tampa Bay Bucs. However, the more talented team doesn't always win, which we've seen over the past month, where the Eagles have lost to opponents who on paper are inferior. I think the Eagles are a better team. I think they are. But give credit to Tampa Bay. They still, regardless, even if it was just 3 field goals, found a way to win and get into the playoffs and take the division. And we know what a great defense that Todd Bowles puts out there week after week. We know how smart he is and how good he is using the blitz. That's a big factor because the Eagles against the Giants had no answers for the blitz. They have got to give Jalen Hurts some protection. They must. But if they do, if they can answer some of those questions, I think they can move on in the playoffs. But in no way is it a given. No way is it a prediction. But I think that this roster is capable of beating that roster.
Well, okay, Merrill, you sold me, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do here. So Bob Bashan and Chris Sullivan are the founders of Outback Steakhouse. I'm going to have my friends come up to the booth and feed you guys. And I'm going to have them bring a menu up because the guys are my dear friends. Remember, they used to have a place called Selman's. Leroy Selman here. This is part of the menu. Leroy signed it for me here. And they're part of the Outback Steakhouse, and those guys used to sponsor me. So I'm going to have those guys knock on your door and bring you up some grub while you're calling the game so that you guys can have a good time there at the Tampa Raymond James Stadium. So I'm going to work on that here right as the show's over.
I'm sure Mike will gladly eat it. Our producer, Joe McPeak, will gladly eat it. I'm too tied up during a game to do anything but focus on the field. But as soon as the game is over, I'll have some treats.
I'm going to do that, Dirk. Just stay away from the blooming onions because, sometimes it gives me agita. It's no good. Thank you, Merrill, so much. Have a safe trip down to Tampa. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Dan. Have a good day.
You got it. The legendary Merrill Reese. I love talking with him. Sap's absolutely fantastic, and I am going to do that. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
Any professional sports coach will tell you there's no substitution for preparation. At Malamut & Associates, that is a tenet by which we live. We prepare from day one for victory. Anything less is not acceptable.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Not sure what the Saints are doing, bringing John Gruden in on the coaching staff. They're trying to get a coach in there who's a great coach, and they're trying to deal with the baggage he brings. I guess there is a need in the NFL for good coaching. Look at the Eagles. I'd like to have John Gruden's insight, but I wouldn't like to have John's presence. Because again, if he insults one person, and here, get this. I'll tell you guys a secret about me. I get it. Why would I want the headache? I have an answer for stuff that I'm not even part of. I get it. Guy's great. Guy's talented. You know, I get it. Let me just go here. But then you settle on the lesser guy. Okay? Matthew goes, Gruden has won Super Bowl and hasn't won shit since. What's Dungy done? Dungy has won Super Bowl. He didn't win in Tampa. Now, I happen to agree with you that I think John Gruden is a little bit overhyped in his philosophies, but I'll tell you what he is good at: putting offensive game plans together. I just think they're too technical. I do. I just think that they're too. I've listened to the plays. I was in the hiring process when he was the offensive coordinator in Philly, and he was hired by the Raiders. I was sitting in the back with Al Davis when people were asking him questions about how he would move the sticks, his plays, his playbook. Personally, Randall Cunningham hated him because he tried to coach Randall. Randall didn't want to be coached. John's got a funny way, man. He can't coach rookies. He's not very good at it. He's never really had a rookie quarterback. Okay? Derek Carr was probably the best guy he's had. He's never really had a quarterback. I mean, Rich Gannon, okay, kind of saved his career a bit. He was a journeyman. Tim Rattay, Chris Sims, Brad Johnson. We're not talking about world beaters here. Jeff Garcia. We're not talking about Gruden winning a ton of games with great quarterbacks. He's never had one. He's never had a great quarterback. I just think, man, I mean, would I hire John Gruden? Look, man, half my roster is going to be African-American. Half the roster, and half the guys in the room won't care, but half those guys will. So that means no. You know, my wife says this all the time. If it offends a couple, why do it? Just why? Why do it? You know, it sets a poor precedent. But the Saints have been doing this and kicking the can around with him for 2 years now. They had him in the offseason. They had him in the preseason. And now they've been whining and dining him. I think they want him to be the head coach of the Saints. I just think that's a risky proposition, especially with a lawsuit that the NFL. I'll tell you what, dare I say this? Would John Gruden drop the lawsuit against the NFL and having to release those emails and having to release all the correspondence going back and forth because a federal judge said that Roger Goodell had to? Would he drop the case if he got the head coaching job of the Saints? Is that on the table behind the scenes? Could that be possible? Because remember something. Gruden has won his moment in court. A Colorado judge is going to hear the case. And 32 owners are going to be called on the carpet for other emails that could be potentially released. So is this a compromise? Why would you put John Gruden in a position to join an NFL team after all that shit that you guys went through if you aren't backtracking something? Look what they did to Kaepernick. Kaepernick, for his political stances, they booted him out of the league, gave him $20 million to go away. Okay? They're trying to bring John Gruden back into the NFL for racist emails. Why? Wouldn't you want to distance yourself from that? If you're a social justice person? Got to remember something. What the league tells you and what the league does, they're completely two different things. Is John Gruden giving them an ultimatum? Bring me back in the league or I'm going to make this case come to fruition. And I'll show you emails, Jerry Jones dropping the M-bomb. Or I'll show you Bob Kraft dropping the M-bomb. I got emails with Bruce Allen talking to Nick Caserio, and he's got, and I'm just saying, something's got to be to this. Why would the Saints go down that road? And why would the Benson family continue to harbor this guy if there's not something there with this? It just doesn't make sense. I would distance myself. I'd rather hire the lesser guy and have the lesser headache. Okay? I'd rather hire two good coaches than John Gruden because I don't need it. But are you extorting the league now? Because you have evidence that Goodell did sabotage your career? Guys, I got to tell you, I've said this before. I've got emails from John Gruden and Bruce Allen. This goes back when John was with the Bucs and Bruce was with the Bucs. And I've got emails between those two guys and how they talked. Yeah. You put something in an email like that, I mean, people are going to screenshot the shit. I went back and looked how many emails I have. I got a ton of them. Jay Gruden, too. It just, I have a problem with people that talk like that in private. Because is that your real thinking? Dude, how many players? Keyshawn Johnson loves John Gruden. He and him had a lot of problems and comments together, and they talked a lot of shit with each other, but still, they like each other. I don't know. Warren Sapp loves him. Okay? Oh, get this. Cody goes, where's Jay Gruden? Collected Daniel Snyder money. That's what he's doing. He signed a 3-year contract extension. They fired him with 3 years remaining, and he was making $10 million. What do you think he's doing? Probably sitting on the beaches in St. Pete. Okay? I mean, what do you think Frank's doing? He's got $68 million of David Tepper's money. Most players do love John. Dude, you can't talk like that, though. You just can't. Okay? Shit, dude. I made a mistake and people give me shit. This guy has hundreds of emails with that shit in it. You can't get your job back with 100 emails, dropping N-bombs, talking big lips and shit. That's not going to work. And you're doing that in private. It doesn't make sense. Unless the NFL is going to compromise and say, drop the case. We'll bring you back into the league. Can't be a head coach. We'll make you an OC or something. Get this. Eric Bieniemy can't get a job, but the Saints are trying to hire John Gruden. I don't know, man. How are you going to sell that? How are you going to sell that if Eric Bieniemy doesn't get a job and John Gruden does? And he's an offensive coordinator or something like that in New Orleans. How do you sell that if you're the NFL? Hey, we're welcoming John Gruden back. Eric Bieniemy just got fired. Okay. I think Eric Bieniemy's done a nice job with Sam Howell. That was his job. His job wasn't to be a coordinator on defense. Hey, Gruden. Hey, Flex. I think Gruden is coming back. It would not shock me one bit in the offseason if the New Orleans Saints add John Gruden either as a consultant or as the offensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints. And that's why Dennis Allen's job is safe. See what the Benson family said? Okay? Dennis Allen's job is safe. That's because they're bringing Gruden in. And who did Dennis Allen work for? John Gruden. Okay? Yeah, so I mean, that just doesn't. I don't get that. All right, let me ask you something here on personnel before I take a time out here, because we're going to get Tone on in the bottom of the hour here. If you lose DeAndre Swift this offseason, would you make a play for Derrick Henry? That's $6 million. How many yards did he have this year? He could be the next Jerome Bettis. Derrick Henry stats. 1167, 4.2 a carry, only 280 carries. He may have had less carries than what DeAndre Swift had. And he had 12 touchdowns. So you wouldn't want a guy with an awful O-line. Almost 1,200 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns with only 280 carries, 4.2 a carry. You don't think that will help your run game? That's $6 million. How old is he, too? He's got to be 31. He's 29 now. He'll be 30. He'll be 30 at the beginning of the year, football year. 30-year-old back, $6 million. Hall of Fame back, he could be your next Jerome Bettis. And you can have him with Kenny Gainwell. He'd be the best back you've had in that backfield in the red zone. And by the way, I'm not so sure I want Derrick Henry running the ball 50 times a game anymore. And I don't think he does. Give him the ball 15 times a game. Give him the ball 20 times a game. Hey, so let me ask you this. He's not Rashad Penny. He actually can pass block. Derrick Henry's one of the best pass blocking running backs in the league. So he brings another dynamic that you haven't had in 2 years. You guys are nuts. $6 million for Henry. Henry, AJ, Devontae, your O-line. I'll tell you what, you might get Jason Kelce to come back if you put Derrick Henry on the team. You imagine blocking for Derrick Henry. You're Jason Kelce out the door. Shit, he'd get 1,500 yards easy next year. Easily. On 200 carries. 280 carries. I'd love to have him. Even if he got 900 yards, he'd be a better power back than anything you have now. Shit, you take Swift out anyway. Everybody who says no to Henry, probably a fantasy player who worried about the age. Yeah, and he still had 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. That's not awful. That's not awful on a shitty team that didn't make the playoffs. And he had 153 yards in his final game, Tennessee, and waved off to the crowd. You guys are nuts. That guy is a Hall of Famer. You know what? I'll make this point to you. Who would you rather have, Derrick Henry or Adrian Peterson? someone goes like this, everyone's looking at because AP has more rushing yards. Oh, okay. So you would take you would take Emmitt Smith over Walter Payton, right? Because he's got more yards. Imagine the Eagles with Hurts, Smith, Brown, Henry, and the line bring in Vrabel. It'd be unbelievable. Honestly. So you think Emmitt Smith is better than OJ or Jim Brown or them guys? People around you help. Systems help. Some guys are by themselves. I think Adrian Peterson's a great ball player. I told the Bucs to draft him. They were scared of drafting Adrian Peterson because of an injury when he was at Oklahoma. And I said this to Bruce Allen. It's a shoulder injury. It's not a knee injury. It's a shoulder injury. This guy's going to be a superstar. I think they ended up taking Cadillac Williams or some shit. I forget. I don't know if that was the year, but I remember they drafted Cadillac Williams, and I'm like, dude, he was the backup to Ronnie Brown. And Ronnie Brown at Auburn, remember they had them two backs at Auburn with Tuberville. Saquon Barkley will cost too much. That'll be a $10 million at least proposition. All right, let me take a timeout. Tone's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
Any professional sports coach will tell you there's no substitution for preparation. At Malamut & Associates, that is a tenet by which we live. We prepare from day one for victory. Anything less is not acceptable.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Sills, appreciate you coming aboard. Thank you so much. Appreciate it very much. You should see people over on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show saying that Mike Vrabel is a downgrade to Nick Pinocchio. Holy cow. Unbelievable. Okay? Absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. Mike Vrabel's a better coach. You got to like guys like Ray here when you're criticizing Jalen Hurts. Criticize a black athlete, you're a racist. Since when does that in sports have anything to do with color? Yeah, I had the balls to say it just now to you, Ray. What's that have to do with anything? Almost 20 turnovers. He sucked this year. Get over yourself. Why do you have to go to the low-hanging fruit? You know why? Because you're weak thinking. I don't give a shit what color he is. I like the kid because of who he is, not because of he's black. Some people in life will go to the extreme and will lower themselves because you know why? That's all they have. I don't criticize people because of race, politics, or religion. I don't care what you are. How many times have I told you in a locker room, just like I told you what I said with that kid asking Nick Sirianni how he's feeling? I don't fucking care how Nick Sirianni's feeling, whether or not this is taking a toll. And that's an Italian guy, how he's feeling. I don't care. Go win a game. Guys, this is not political talk. This is sports talk. Athletes get criticized. People in sports, the beautiful thing about sports, there's scoreboard. In politics, in political talk, you guys move the chains all the time. Who won elections, who didn't win elections, who did this, who did that. It's actually nauseating and beneath my intelligence to watch it. I don't watch it anymore. I watch C-SPAN. Seriously, because at least there's a Democrat and a Republican line that you can hear both. I honestly do watch C-SPAN because I can't take the rhetoric from both guys. It's too racist. Watching CNN and Fox is like watching two racist news coverages, constantly moving the goalpost. At least in sports, you win, you lose. There's nothing you can do about it. Why do you rip? What do you mean, why do we rip? Don't turn the ball over. Lamar Jackson is going to be the MVP this year. And you know what? This is the last time I'm addressing this. I'm sick of that stuff. The next person that brings that up, just keep bringing it up. It's on you. I am done with that. There's no place for racial talk in sports. None when it comes to winning. None. Whatever, dude. Hey, I'll tell you what, Ray. Congratulations. Go follow someone else or watch someone else. I don't give a shit you're here. You want to stay? Fine. If you don't, go somewhere else. Okay? You're not a Pied Piper. You're a faceless meme. That is a faceless egg like on X who hides behind something. I'm done with it. Whatever. Sports, Sirianni has an issue that's got nothing to do with anything. And by the way, Jalen Hurts, how about this one? Does Jalen Hurts need to be more of a leader? Yes or no? Let's go there. Does Jalen Hurts need to be more of a leader? Yes or no? A.J. Brown's being one. Actually apologized to A.J. Brown on Twitter. He and Darius Slay, I apologized, and they responded, and I'm thankful for it. I actually apologized to them. Guy, I thought you guys were distractions. I think you guys are trying to keep the team together, and I apologize. And they liked it, and Slay said, hey, Sills, thanks, man. I said, no, I think you guys are doing the best you can in an unattainable situation. They're changing the systems out for you. I think that's more difficult than what people think. You're two-gapping now. Slay doesn't want to go into it too much because he doesn't want to give a guy like me more info or more intel. But he watches the show daily. He told us that. He watches the show daily. Hey, didn't help that AJ fumbled. Hurts is a company guy. But I think this goes to a little bit of what Gary Cobb said yesterday. Hey, man, Jalen's still a young pro. How many games has he been in this? How many games has he really been in? What? Like 50? Like, right, 50 or something like that? Am I right when I say that? Let me think. As a true starter. 17, 34. Like 54 games? Think he's a real pro yet? Think he's at the beginning stages of understanding what being the face of a franchise and making the kind of money he's making. He's got a lot of responsibilities in his life. Team, leadership, performance, family, who to pay, who not to pay, investments. He's a business now. Remember that. He's not the quarterback just of the Eagles anymore. Okay? He's a business. He's a $250 million business now. That's who he is. Tyrod Taylor looked like an MVP. Lamar Jackson, last game. Tyrod's a good ball player. Tyrod Taylor's a good ball player. He almost had 400 yards of total offense the game before or the week before. He's a good ball player. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't mind Tyrod Taylor as Jalen Hurts' backup next year. I'd love to have him on the team. You imagine him helping Jalen out? And a guy like Tyrod Taylor is not going to come in and be subversive because he's a professional. Kind of the stuff that Gary Cobb's talking about. Dude, a guy like Tyrod Taylor walks into your building, and you know what he says? I'm here to help the team. I'm here to help Jalen. And God forbid if something happens, I'm here to win games. That's how you stay in the league for 20 years. That's Chase Daniel. Do you know Chase Daniel made over $50 million? 17 years, and I think he had never started a game. I don't think he ever started a game. Tells you the man. No matter what else. Box of rocks. It's all good, dude. Tyrod's a good ball player. He's a good ball player. Look, man, end of the day, well, hey, let's do this. If Jalen got a better coordinator next year, do I think that he could be back in the MVP conversation? Yeah. Last year we were saying Jalen was better than Lamar. What happened? Hey, get this. Is that a flip-flop? That Lamar's a better player than Jalen? Is that a flip-flop? Brian says it is. So you want to say that a guy is a better ball player that has almost 20 turnovers and a guy who's going to win a second MVP award by the age of 26 right now is a better ball player? Have at it. It changed for Lamar. Could it change for Jalen? I believe it could. But will that Here's why it won't. Lamar's got a better organization around him. He's got the Ravens. Jalen doesn't play for the Ravens. He plays for Howie. There lies your problem. Who would they bring in? Frank? Is Frank the right guy for Jalen? Is he an RPO guy? Frank didn't want Bryce Young. He wanted CJ Stroud. Would Jalen Hurts would he be able to coach? Has he ever coached? And he did coach, what was the kid's, Jacoby Brissett in Indianapolis. That's a great one there. Byron Leftwich. Whew. That's a great one. I love Byron Leftwich. Byron Leftwich. But Byron's a drop back guy. Byron's more of a drop back kind of quarterback. He was a drop back guy himself. Could he be an RPO guy? You see Todd Monken's name's up for head coaching job in Carolina and also in Washington. Look what that guy's done. It does matter. Styles matter, dude. You're not going to have Josh McDaniel coach Jalen Hurts. Josh McDaniel is going to coach a 7-step dropper because that's all he's done. You think he's just going to change to coach somebody that's an RPO guy and he's never coached an RPO guy? You're back to having somebody that's not qualified again. The next coach that Jalen Hurts needs, I might go to the college ranks. Who's the offensive coordinator at Michigan? That kid, J.J. McCarthy, is not a pro guy. Can you imagine the offensive coordinator at Michigan coaching Jalen Hurts, who is a pro guy? Lincoln Riley? I don't think Caleb Williams is that good. I think he's okay. He'll be a first rounder, but what quarterback Jalen Hurts is probably the best quarterback he's ever coached. Okay? Would you go to the college? Would you go like Harbaugh? All right. I want to get to Tone. Let's bring in Tone here.
Big Seals, how you doing, sir? Also, for the record, the Michigan offensive coordinator right now, Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore. That's his name.
What do you think, Tone? That'd be somebody up their alley because at the end of the day, it'd be somebody that's inexperienced, but it's experienced with RPO guys because that guy, J.J. McCarthy, in my opinion, is not an NFL guy. But he is. But to me, they did a nice job moving him around last night.
Yeah, and, they clearly – I mean, Sharon Moore, his resume is pretty solid. He spent a lot of time in Michigan. He was a Michigan tight ends coach. He also coached offensive line. But
all under Harbaugh?
So, yes. So he started out as a Louisville graduate assistant, and then he was coaching tight ends at Louisville from 2012 to 2013. Then went to Central Michigan from 2014 to 2016, coaching tight ends. And then he ended up at Michigan from 2018 up until now, and he coached tight end, O-line, and now it's the OC. And also he was the acting head coach when Harbaugh went out for that one game this year. But
love that guy.
Yeah.
The emotional guy on the sidelines. Oh,
yeah.
I love that guy.
And here's the thing that's interesting. You may be able to get the best of both worlds with someone like this. And it's funny we're having this conversation because obviously so much is left to be said and played out, but nonetheless, we have to have foresight because we have no idea what's going on. And the NFL season's over, and all we have is this playoff game coming up, and they haven't really played well enough for us to be really looking forward to it. So we have to kind of look at the outskirts. And when it comes to Sharon Moore, it's interesting because of the fact that his offense is run based. So it'll be I'm curious to see
I don't know if Frank's a perfect fit for him.
Right. And also, like I said, best of both worlds, he's a young guy. He's a young guy who doesn't have the experience, so he's probably more agreeable, but his football mind can directly help your quarterback probably. So
and by the way, if Harbaugh does go to the NFL, he's not taking him with him. Because I'll tell you why. He'll probably go to a place. To me, if I'm Harbaugh, I want to go to a place that's got Justin Herbert. I want to go where there's a quarterback already in the building, okay? Because in the NFL, Tone, in college, you can win without great quarterbacks. Right. In the NFL, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, look, J.J. McCarthy is not going to go anywhere in the NFL. He's just not.
Yeah, last night that running game won that championship. So
he had 10 completions.
It was pretty awesome to see them just pound the rock and win.
They had 300 yards in rushing. He had two guys go over 130 yards apiece.
Yeah, one guy had it.
To throw the ball.
One guy had it in like 6 or 7 carries. It was crazy.
Edwards.
It was crazy, man.
Okay, real quick here, what would be the first thing you did in the offseason to this Eagle team? First thing you address.
I'm addressing the elephant in the room, and I'm getting Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts in the room, and I'm going to find out what's the real problem. Where are we? Can you coach this? Can you coach this guy? Can you maximize this guy's skill set? I'm going to have the uncomfortable conversation early because I don't have time to pussyfoot through the offseason and second guessing question. I need to know how. I need to check the temperature between my head coach and my quarterback and my GM instantly.
I wouldn't have those conversations separately.
You have them separately?
I would have them separately and then bring them together. So then I would do this. I'd want to know their view.
It's actually smarter.
I want their view, his view, and then we hash it out view if we can.
That's smarter.
And then I make my assessment if it can go forward. So you do it in 3 stages. Separately, together, me and Jeffrey talk. That way. See, to me, because you're addressing it really, to me, the first thing I have to do is help Hurts. Because it's my biggest investment.
Yeah, I think
it's my lasting, it's my long-term investment. What I can't have this happen is next year in week 8, he's got 11 turnovers.
Correct.
Because then you're going to hear what, Tone? Gave him the money too soon.
Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts is priority number 1.
You bet. 100%. Even over the puppet coach. You got to fix this kid.
Exactly. Because that's where the money is. And that's where most of your ego is tied up in, really, if you want to be honest. Like, your ego is more so tied up in that quarterback investment. You can't afford to botch 2 quarterbacks in the span of 5 years or 10 years apart. You can't afford to do that. Failing Carson Wentz is an indictment on this organization, and the only way they can dispel that negative side is if they somehow, some way, find a way to turn Jalen Hurts into the guy, and he delivers a championship.
Learn from their mistakes.
Yes,
from Hurts or Wentz.
Exactly, but they won't be vindicated unless Hurts becomes something. He has to become something, because if Jalen Hurts doesn't, people will look at them and say, okay, you botched Carson Wentz and now you botched Hurts?
I would say this to you. I watched Lamar Jackson turn his entire narrative around this year. That kid in Philly can too. With the
No,
right,
I agree. No, I agree.
The right
No.
people around him and the right direction around him.
Yeah.
I think he can. You
I agree.
said something to me yesterday that I went back and looked, and I knew it, and now I know why the turnovers are so high. They made him make the toughest throws of any guy in the league this year.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, what did you expect? Tom Brady never made tough throws. Think about that, Tone. He was check down Charlie. Tom Brady was never a deep thrower. Why are the Eagles having him try to do something not even Tom Brady did? I mean,
I don't really know what was the ultimate goal with Jalen Hurts.
You're trying to get return on investment on the first round pick in Devontae and the $20 million on AJ. And get this, they are getting the return. They got 1,000 yards, but the offense is stagnant. Think about that. The offense doesn't look as effective as a year ago. And I actually love this guy, Denbrock. He's a hell of a guy, and he's really a great coordinator. He did a great job with Jaden Daniels. They getting the return, but at the expense of the other wide receiving core not getting – and Goddard, dude, Goddard's numbers too, and Goddard's inability to stay healthy hurts that whole dynamic as well.
Absolutely. You know, there are so many competing variables about these guys, you know, being able to be in sync. But excuse me, it always goes back to, are you doing the best you can to make Jalen Hurts as comfortable as possible in his offense? And are the pieces around him functioning properly? You know, I agree with you, right? I think Jalen Hurts is a guy that can get out of this rut. I don't think this is something that's going to haunt him for the rest of his career. I personally think this is it's growing pains. It's a part of the path. But this organization can't waste time. You have to put the right people around him to challenge him. And also, he's going to challenge himself. You want to make sure you get the ROI, the return on your investment. If you get one Super Bowl out of the Jalen Hurts era, it's a success.
Let me ask you this. Okay. Do you think the failure with Wentz is because Doug had a different approach to trying to keep him going in the right projection, and Howie and them had a different objection, and that stuff collided, and it got in the way of the development of Wentz, and they didn't put quality people because there was too much bickering internally, whereas here, hopefully these guys are smart enough to go, we have to be – see, first and foremost, Tom, before you can fix Hurts, you have to fix yourselves.
Correct.
You have to have a game plan on what the plan is to fix him first before you meet with anybody. What's the direction of what you want to do here? What kind of coordinator do we get in here? Everyone's clamoring for Frank because Frank won a Lombardi trophy. That doesn't necessarily mean he's the right guy for Jalen. So you've got to find the glove that fits, no pun intended here, but you got to find the glove that fits this guy to make this guy be a productive football player that's going to take the best. Shane Steichen, boy, I'll tell you, man, Frank Reich recommended him. It wasn't that they knew anything about – you think they knew anything about Shane? He was on Frank's staff. Frank recommended all that. Frank recommended Gannon. Frank recommended all those guys to them when he was the head coach of the Colts.
Right.
So maybe, I'll tell you what, I'd like to hear Frank's opinions on who they think maybe Frank – you know what? I'm going to ask Frank Reich that opinion. What kind of coordinator – tonight I'm going to ask him. What kind of coordinator would best suit him? A guy who deals with the RPO type guy, like a Bama coordinator, or somebody that's in the pros now? Because how many places run the RPO off?
Well, here's the thing, right? Here's what you have to do. What you have to do is you have to analyze what made Shane Steichen great in Philadelphia. That's where you start. Why did Shane Steichen and Hurts work?
Can I tell you what Frank told me about him? Frank told me that he was a master at creating boutique offensive game plans to fit a skill set of a player. Like his ability is not play calling. His ability is to put a game plan together for the quarterback to make situational decisions himself. And that's why when he created that RPO system, you know who to me, last year, the offensive coordinator was Jalen Hurts. This year, the offensive coordinator is Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni. They tell you that. Last year, when you run an RPO, when you run an RPO, think about it, Tone. This year, they're telling him where to throw the ball. You see it constantly. Last year, he did this. Pull out. Down the line of scrimmage. Do I hand it off? Do I run with it? Do I pass it? He was making split decisions on the move. Shane Steichen's not going, hey, throw it there, throw it here, throw it there. He put more of the game in Hurts' hands.
Okay.
Am I wrong? Didn't you see it that way too?
No, you're not wrong. I mean, when I was watching the games, even with the Shane Steichen era, you saw Jalen Hurts more comfortable. You saw him making split-second decisions, getting the ball out of his hands much quicker, right?
I think that's a great skill set he has.
Point,
he's a really good decision maker.
Yeah, like that 2022 season, I think he was ranked somewhere in the middle of the league in terms of quickness with the release. Getting rid of the ball. I think he was ranked around 15th or 14th, something like that, which is actually good because he's the mobile quarterbacks hold on to the ball longer. So for him to be ranked in the middle of the league in terms of getting rid of the ball, how quick you get rid of the ball is pretty okay, especially for how he played. This year, I think he's at the bottom. He holds the ball the longest. And that tells me
for routes to develop. Last year, he didn't have to wait for those routes to develop because he would either keep it, throw it, or run with it.
Yeah, and also we got to keep in mind too. We got to pay attention to the other side of the ball. Other teams, they're doing way more. They're more prepared for what Jalen Hurts does well. Let's call it what it is. This isn't just something that's one-sided. Other teams have studied the Philadelphia Eagles. They saw them go through the playoffs. They saw them in the Super Bowl. They're studying all of that, right? Every team in the NFC is trying to figure out how to prevent that from killing them. And so far this season, they made it very difficult for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then eventually the Eagles fell off the cliff. So that's something that the Philadelphia Eagles had to keep in mind. They had to continue to reinvent this offense and evolve it. You can't just think it's going to stay the same. And I'm not saying you, but they can't just think that, because it worked then, it'll work now. Teams are studying you. You got to try to reinvent the wheel every single time.
I'll tell you what, Dirty D has a great point here. And you pointed this out a bunch of times early in the season. Shane Steichen's routes were open quicker. This year, routes take a lot more time in the open. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Dirty D was right. I mean, those routes last year, they were quicker routes and they were open quicker. Okay? I mean, don't you agree with that? That's a true statement that those wideouts were open.
Right. And if you ask me, I don't think A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or even Dallas Goedert got less talented than last year.
No.
So I think, I'll put it to you this way. There's been plenty of times I watch games and I'm listening to commentators criticize the Philadelphia Eagles route concepts. Certain guys running certain routes that actually work against their teammates' routes. Their route concepts don't complement each other. They're actually, colliding a lot more than they actually should. So I think that's another thing too. Just the route combinations on each play doesn't complement each other as well. And you're not really maximizing these guys' skill set. You're not getting them in motion. You're not being creative. One play isn't leading to the next. It's you're just seeing an offense that is in its own way herky-jerky, and it doesn't really have an identity, if we're being honest.
How about this, Tone? I would love to have the Eagles fire Nick Sirianni and hire Mike Vrabel on Tuesday. Is that a pipe dream?
Yeah, it is. It is. For one,
I can't disagree with you.
For one, I look at this team and I say, are they really going to fire Nick Sirianni? I gotta as much as forget what I want, forget what you want. We gotta ask: do we?
Wouldn't you want to upgrade though?
Yes, of course. Yeah. But we can't get what we want all the time. So you know this. We can't get what we want all the time. Come on, man. What's life? So I'm looking at this team, the front office. Are they going to jump out the window and get rid of Nick Sirianni? They would have to get embarrassed. They've already been embarrassed so far, but they would have to get like crushed.
Wait a minute. You don't think the last 2 weeks have been embarrassing?
No, they have. They have. But
The
I
Giants
think
embarrassed you.
so. I see. Right as of right now, I don't think they win the game today.
Oh.
Today, but I haven't locked in anything yet. So, but right now, I don't feel too confident in the game. Nonetheless, let's just say he wins. They win. They make it to the divisional round. They lose. What do you think happens? I think they find a reason to bring him back. But here's the caveat. We talked about this. They're going to have a conversation. Hey, Nick, this is what we want to have next. We think you should go this route. If he disagrees, he's out.
That's setting the guy up.
Isn't it? Come on, man. Who are you talking about, man?
That's not a real conversation, Tone.
Who are you talking about?
That's not a real conversation.
It's not the conversation I would have, but
No, because the conversation I would have is like, hey, man, this is the way we feel about what went on right now. I want to know how you feel about it, and I want to know what you're going to do about it.
mm-hmm.
And then we'll have a come to Jesus conversation on what we're going to do about it. And then I would say this to the guy: can we work together here on getting to where because remember something here, in meetings like that, something you just said, it makes me want to throw up in my mouth what you just said, because you know why? Yeah. The Eagles are trying to get to know. When I get into a meeting like that, I'm trying to get to yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go into a meeting when I know you're trying to get to know. That means you're polluting the environment on me. That means you're not being truthful with me.
Are you surprised? What is
I'm
shocking?
answering my own stupid ass questions.
Would it shock you?
No. Damn, dog. I hate how that team thinks.
Me too.
No, I'll take that back. I hate how people in that organization think.
That's why
I don't hate the players.
That's why
people in that
it's
organization.
going to be so crucial.
Would you agree? I don't think the players have any animosity towards Nick Sirianni. I think he's in the boat with them. I think they just know he's helpless.
Yeah,
I heard do anything about it.
I heard you say that earlier, and I don't know. I still feel like there are some players who look at him like, "Why should I respect you?" You know what I mean?
No.
I do think that.
No. Respect him as a coach, right? I don't think they respect him as a coach. I don't think they ever did.
Okay. Yeah. He said so much goofy stuff.
Oh, kooky.
And it's been so bad. I don't know how they can have a positive view of him, regardless of how you slice it. So, all of this is so funny. Everything we're saying hinges on one fact, one domino. Will Jeffrey Lurie come out of the castle
off his throne
and address his townsfolk? Will he come out and set the record straight and say, listen, I don't like how you've been doing this. I don't like how you've been doing this. This is what I want. And we're going to make some changes.
Going to come talk to the serfs?
That's the goal.
And the peasants?
That's the more so the noble was going to address his council.
Oh, because he's not going to address the peasants.
Of course not. Of course
that's not who he is.
We're the peasants.
Yes, we're the peasants.
We're the people who consume the content, the product, right? Yeah. We're the townsfolk.
Yeah.
But as far as that council, that cabinet, however you want to slice it, they're going to have a lot of some tough conversations, some tough ones, especially depending on how this thing ends.
I'm going to go by a question Yale just said, and I like it. You think the owner knows that there's problems, or do you think the owner thinks it's?
That is a good question.
It is, and you know what? Because does he think it's their problem, or do they think it's a you problem? And what I mean by that is, hey, I gave you an opportunity. You did really well last year, but now get this. Just like love, winning is fleeting. You're only gauged on, you know what? Because he could go like this. Here's an easy out.
That would imply
people get married, they fall in love, but all of a sudden, some people fall out of love and they get divorced. Happens all the time in life.
That would imply that they don't believe they did anything wrong in this whole process.
Absolutely, I don't believe they do think that.
And that will be the downfall of this organization, for the foreseeable future. The inability to see where they went wrong. No one's saying you have to bear the brunt of everything, but where did you go wrong in particular? And that's the sad part about the social situation. Everyone has to wear, this, some part of this failure, some part of this collapse. Everyone has their own portion to carry. If the front office, if ownership can't see where they went wrong, we're doomed. No need to even talk about Nick anymore. No need to even watch the games. We're doomed.
Do you think they... Here's the most preposterous question. It seems dumber than the last one. Would he ever, because he has, would he ever entertain a guy like Harbaugh? Jim?
Nah.
Why? He entertained Chip.
Well,
and this guy's got NFL success.
I don't think that price tag would be
it's $20 million.
You think they paying that? Nick is not even getting paid like the best money. Yeah, I mean, running back money. That's about it.
Running back money they don't even want to pay.
Exactly.
Oh wait, they gave Miles Sanders money, and they gave TJ Edwards money to Nick.
Basically. So yeah, man. I don't see it. I don't know. Yeah.
But if you want to get this, that guy would come in here and he would want his own assistants.
Exactly.
He'd want his own. Remember something.
You're answering your own question, Sills. You're answering your own question. You know what I appreciate about you today? I clearly see you're searching for the answers. You're searching for the answers.
But I know it, and it's in front of me, and I can't do anything about it. And I just can't fathom that you would rather have the control over winning. That really is gnawing at me because why are you in this, dude? Are you in this really to control lives, or are you in this to win and give the city of Philly what they so deserve? Is a team that consistently is not putting silver medals around the Rocky statue. It's putting gold medals around it. They have compromised themselves so much that they have underachieved as an ownership group. Their behavior this year has solidified to me. They have underachieved as an ownership group when they have probably left the 2004 Super Bowl on the table. They've probably left the 22 Super Bowl on the table. This place should have 3 rings.
At minimum. But we've had coaching faux pas. We've had people thrown up in huddles. We've had turnovers in crucial situations. It's just been a bad.
Why the rush to pay quarterbacks in your city?
See, I can't say a rush because I feel like a lot of teams.
Did Wentz deserve that contract?
See, here's the thing: when you have a quarterback in the building, right? And I kind of fall in line with Jason Cole in this regard, right? It's not easy to find a guy that's competent at the position.
He's right.
It's not easy. So for organizations to just go soul searching every year or every 2 or 3 years, to have a revolving door of quarterbacks because you're trying to find the perfect one, you're never going to find them. So when you find one that's remotely good, you're going to have to pay him. You got to pay him. You want to stay in the mix? You got to pay him. You put some pieces around him. You get a good, you prepare a defense.
Kyler Murray's a great example of that.
Is he good enough to win you games? Okay, roll with him. See how far he can take you. And if you have a large enough sample size proving that he only can get you to this point, then maybe you consider moving on, right? So when it comes to paying Jalen Hurts, they came across a quarterback that they felt like can get them there and potentially win the game. He proved that he can get you there. Now, can he prove he can win one? that still remains to be seen. I can't get mad at them for paying him, especially since they were behind the 8 ball with not only him being a second-round pick, he didn't start until his second year in the league. So basically the first year was a wash. That gives them 3 years, well, basically 2 years to evaluate if they really want to keep him. Because once you go into, because no one wants to send a quarterback into the final year of the contract without anything long-term. And most of these players these days will try to hold out. They'll try to muscle you, and maybe they won't even consider you in their negotiations if you allow them to go into that final year of the contract without anything long-term. So you kind of got to pick your poison. If you find a guy that can get you there, that plays well, he's shown he can play at this level, and he showed he can take you there, you got to pay him. You got to roll with it. It's not easy to find guys in this league. That's why Kirk Cousins has eaten for as long as he has. You know what I mean? Because the Vikings have fed Kirk Cousins very well over the past several years. Why? Because they know when it comes to throwing that ball, he's one of the best. Can he win the big game? They don't really know yet, but he's good enough because he throws for 4,000 plus yards a year, 30 plus touchdowns.
He's the floor of decent to great.
Yeah.
He's there.
Yeah,
the great
exactly.
ones are above him. The below guys are below him. He's the floor in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. If there was a graph and like you had the quarterbacks you can win with,
yes,
versus the quarterbacks that that you can lose with,
yes,
he is the
He's
line.
the bridge guy in the middle of all of that. You're like
Exactly.
this. Shit, man, you can get lucky and win, but I don't know if he can win. But I'll tell you what, he throws for a lot of yards and he wins a ton of games.
Right.
He won in Washington, which is insane.
Guys have had
Minnesota, but
career years.
But every guy below him sucks.
Right. Guys have had career years with him. So it's like, you have to really pick your poison. And that's why Kirk Cousins, when he gets on the open market, he's going to get paid again because a team is going to want a guy like that. Another guy who, in my opinion, feel how you want to feel about him, Jared Goff. He's above that Kirk Cousins level, though.
You think he's the new Jared? You think he's the new Kirk Cousins?
I think. Because why do you say the new one? Because Kirk got hurt?
He's younger.
Okay, yeah, he is younger.
Now he has gone to a Super Bowl.
That's a good question. I can't say that because he has done things Kurt has not.
Yeah, and he's gotten to a Super Bowl and lost by what was it, 14-3?
Yeah, and I mean he turned around the Detroit Lions.
Dude,
so
how funny is that story? Stafford's going back to Detroit to play a game there.
That game is going to.
Lions got the better team.
That's the game I want to see. I want to watch that game more than anyone.
How about Mike McCarthy coaching against the Packers? That's also interesting.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. Hey, listen, man. It's a lot of storylines in this playoffs, man. It's a lot of storylines. But
I tell you why
you got to pay? You got to pay these guys. Say it again.
Can I tell you why they may not fire Nick?
Why they may not?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm going to tell you this, man. Think about it. If you fire Nick, the next guy is Howie. Howie has to look at it with
Howie
the
can't
owner.
Survive.
Howie has to look at it to the owner like this. Okay, well, if I bring someone else in here and that guy bombs, I'm out.
What's so funny?
He may want that guy to work, and because that's his.
So you think that's the leverage Nick Sirianni has?
I think Nick's his safety net.
That's the leverage Nick has. The fact that Howie.
Yes.
People don't. Ooh, we're hitting somewhere now. Where are we? 4 o'clock? Well, 5 o'clock. We're good. We're good. Okay, listen to this. You just hit on something that no one's tapped into yet, in my opinion. Nick may have leverage in this situation because Howie has. What GM do you know survives 3 different head coaches? Name one. Name one GM you know in this league that survived 3 different head coaches.
Unless you owned a team, no one.
He survived Andy Reid. He survived Chip Kelly, and he survived Doug Peterson. And that coach won you a Super Bowl, and you couldn't get it together with him. Your ego pushed out a Super Bowl winning head coach, the one that got you the first one. You think you're tapping into somewhere really interesting.
I'm telling you,
there's no way
that's his safety net.
Because unless he has something on Jeffrey Lurie, there's no way Jeffrey should allow a GM in his forget who he is. There's no way you allow a GM to survive 4 or 5 different head coaching changes. At some point, you got to look at him. So maybe because of this dynamic, Howie is forced to really make things work with this guy, or somewhat form some checks and balances for himself. It makes him more agreeable in the whole situation. He has to be the one to be more flexible because of the idea that he could potentially be a survivor of or a widow to 4 coaches. That's not normal. Typically a GM gets 2 head coaches at most. Beyond that, you're out with the 3rd one.
Here, think about this here. So if that guy has another 5 or 4 win team inside that time span, along with all, you've got to look at it like there's an organizational. Jeff Kerr hit on something, dude, that was really something that's an indictment on Roseman. His inability to maintain success is because of his inability to draft and develop. Mm-hmm. I don't know the guy's name. I think it's Hughes in Detroit. And I brought it up earlier. Tone, look at the last 3 drafts that they have had. Do me a favor. Can you please pull up the drafts of the Lions in the last 3 drafts? That's because of the Matthew Stafford deal. Look at who they've added.
Okay, so the general manager for the Detroit Lions is Brad Holmes.
Brad Holmes, that's it.
Brad Holmes, he's the GM and executive vice president.
Okay, do me a favor. Look at the last 3 drafts of the Lions, and I want to show you the difference between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions and how the Lions are building stability, longevity, and building core guys around their franchise since Brad Holmes has become the new GM of the football team. Okay? Look at those players that they've acquired. Maybe even since he's been in the building. Name the players.
All right, let's see here. So he became the GM in, give me 1 second. I think he became the GM in 2021.
Okay.
All right. Brad Holmes, there it is. Okay. So he became their GM in 2021, all right? And since 2021, in his first draft class, he gets Penny Sewell,
Pro Bowler.
Levi Onwuzurike. He's a D lineman. He plays a lot.
Starter.
Let me make sure I got that right. Okay, yeah, he's a rotational DT.
Okay,
he's a rotational DT. He got him in the 2nd round. 3rd round, he drafts Aleem McNeil, D tackle, in 2021. As of right now, McNeil, where is he? He's a starter. He's a starting D tackle. They drafted corner Ifitu Melifonu out of Syracuse. He's not a player. He's not. I don't think he's on the roster right now.
Okay.
They drafted Amon-Ross St. Brown in the 4th, wide receiver.
Holy cow! Got him in the 4th. That guy's a star.
He's a monster. He's a monster. They drafted Derek Barnes, defensive end out of Purdue. As of right now, he has 4 sacks. Let's see here. All right. And in the 7th round, 2021, they drafted a running back, Jamar Jefferson.
Yeah,
I don't think he's on the roster.
He's nobody. Go to the next draft.
Now, 2022. This is the one right here. Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher, 21 sacks. Jamison Williams, wide receiver. Josh Paschal, defensive end out of Kentucky. Kirby Joseph out of Illinois. He has 8 interceptions. James Mitchell, tight end. Malcolm Rodriguez, linebacker. He has a sack. James Houston, linebacker, 8 sacks. I like James Houston, by the way. They got him in the 6th round. And Chase Lucas, DB. Now, 2023 draft, Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, star. Jack Campbell, linebacker, 2 sacks.
Starter.
Sam Campbell, star. I'm sorry, Sam Laporta, star. Brian Branch, star. Well, blooming guy. He's young, but he makes a lot of plays. 3 interceptions on the season, a sack. So he's very productive. Hendon Hooker, project at quarterback. DT, Broderick Martin.
Dude, look at the production out of that draft the last 3 years.
Yeah.
How many starters and rotation guys do you think you got there? 10?
I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You got 14. Well, I'm sorry, 15. You got 15 players who are either starters or major contributors.
And
in the past 3 years. In the past 3 years in the draft. That means you average 5 hits a year in the past 3 years.
And in the last 3 years in Philly, how many hits do you have?
No need to talk about that. No need to go there. Let's find out, actually. I'm curious, honestly. Hold on, give me 1 second.
Okay.
Because let's see here. Eagles draft history.
Holy cow, man. The Lions are killing it.
They are killing it. Like these past 3 years have completely shifted. and it aligns directly with the Matthew Stafford trade.
Totally.
So
it absolutely does.
All right. So here we go. How far do you want to go back to? Just the past 3 years?
3 years. Go 3 years.
All right, past
I'll take
3 years.
Devontae.
All right, so 3 years, 2021, you have a Devontae Smith, star.
Total star.
Landon Dickerson, star.
Star.
Milton Williams, strong rotational DT.
I think he's a star.
Okay. Zach McPherson hasn't really provided anything, in my opinion.
No.
Kenneth Gainwell, a guy. Marlon Tuipulotu, rotational DT. I like Marlon. Teron Jackson, a guy. Jacoby Stevens, not even in the NFL. Patrick Johnson, a guy. So 2021, you got 1, 2,
That's a
3,
good draft.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys who are either starters or making making a contribution.
You're on pace with the Lions there. Go ahead. Go to the next year.
2022, Jordan Davis.
What's your take on him?
Jordan Davis?
Yeah.
As of right now, I'm not a fan of his production, But when Baldy called him out, I had to pay attention because I needed to know why. So I watched the plays he was pointing out, and his motor right now just seems to be running on fumes. He needs to get in shape. Period. Now I will say that I'll give him credit for this.
He needs to be a pro.
He came out hot,
totally hot,
and he was strong.
I thought he changed the narrative.
Yeah, ever since the bye week, he hasn't been the same player. That's just a fact. And
then again, the Eagles are 3-5 since the bye.
Right. So it's almost like, is it him or is it everybody? You know what I mean? Like everybody's been terrible since the bye. So
yeah,
it's kind of hard to just pick. But nonetheless, I do
give him a C.
I'm a Jordan Davis. I like Jordan Davis. I think he's given us a mediocre year and given us a solid year. So I have to give him a C plus.
Here's my problem with Jordan Davis.
Okay.
Is that, dude, this has nothing to do with ability. This is to do with desire and being in condition.
Yeah.
You understand that, Tone? We're not talking. When he ran down Josh Allen, down the sidelines, is maybe one of the greatest athletic things I've ever seen for a 700-pound DT. I've never seen anything like that. I'll tell you what, if I was Josh Allen and I saw that rhino running towards me
that was basically a rhino coming at you.
It looked like a rhino. And I'm like, sir, I'm sitting there watching that. I'm going, holy shit. That is unbelievable having a guy like that. You don't understand when you're on the field and you see something like that running at you, you're like this. Howie Long used to say this about these big giant guys like Bryant McKinney. He'd go, what the fuck is that?
What is that?
It's just so big.
When you play when he plays like that, then I'm rolling with him every single time. But I still think Jordan Davis is a player. I still think he's a player. Maybe what I have drafted him at 13, maybe not.
I think he's 22.
But
I think he's a first rounder.
Yeah, I think he's a player. And, 2 years in, you know, and he's a DT as well. All of them don't hit the ground running right away.
No, Tone. I think he's a first round draft choice. I just don't think he's 13th.
That's fair enough. I think that's fair. So, all right. Anyway, 2021, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams, Kenny Gainwell, Martin Tuipulotu. You got about 5 guys who actually contribute.
That's a great draft.
So that's 2021. 2022, you have Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean, Kyron Johnson, and Grant Calcaterra. You're getting contributions from 2 of those guys directly.
Are they stars?
One guy can't stay healthy. One guy is a special teamer, and the last guy can't stay healthy either, which is the tight end, Grant Calcaterra. Jordan Davis is a starter. Cam Jurgens is a starter. So you got 2 starters. Also, keep in mind, in the 2022 draft, they only had 5 picks. So they drafted. So 2 out of the 5 guys are starters.
You think Cam Jurgens has replaced Isaac Seumalo?
He hasn't had a consistent bill of health, but I like what Cam brings. He's not a natural guard though. He's gonna shift the center. That's his natural spot. But I've been more pleased by Cam than not. So I'll roll with that for now. Young guy,
Right.
first year starting, I'll roll with it.
He don't look special to me, but okay.
Well, look, it's the offensive line, right?
I just don't see, like, I saw Isaac Seumalo putting Raven guys on their back.
All right. Let me kind of, because I didn't want to do this. Isaac Seumalo was okay. He was he was okay.
He's ranked the 9th best guard in pro football by Pro Football Focus.
That's this year. What I'm saying is, Isaac Seumalo, he just got good.
Remember 30 years old, though, Tone.
Say it again?
Remember 30 years old, 28, you start getting better in the O-line in your later 20s.
That's
and
fair
into
enough.
Your 30s.
But he outpriced himself in Philadelphia. Over that, a lot of people outpriced themselves.
He did.
So I gotta be willing to.
But he's
move
been
on
an
from a guy
impact
like
in
that.
Pittsburgh.
No, yeah, I'm not doubting that. But I'll put it to you this way: every time Isaac Seumalo's been on the line, he's been the lesser of the 5 guys. That's just the reality. And I can't keep everybody together. I got Lane, I got Mitlada.
No, I got it.
But again, I don't want to shit on Seumalo.
No. But I would say
he was a guy. He was a good player.
Because what you're doing now is you're taking me back and schooling me on my own schooling, and that is, hey, Sills, financially, what's a better guy, Cam Jurgens or Isaac Seumalo? It's Cam Jurgens, because the money I got to pay. What is it? I got to pay $45 million with 3 guys in that line, and I still got Dickerson to have to deal with soon coming up in the offseason here if I'm going to pay him or not before the the clock hits midnight on that. I gotta pay his ass too. So like you said, you can't keep them all here.
You can't keep them all. So I look at Cam as a guy. And look, also, and here's another thing too. The fact that the Eagles perennially have 3 to damn near the whole offensive line going to the Pro Bowl, that's not normal either.
No.
So if you got 3 or 2 Pro Bowls on the O-line and the rest of them are just solid, that's a good offensive line.
It's the best O-line in football.
Yeah. So in the 2022 draft, out of 5 players chosen, they got 2 starters out of it.
Oh, that's a good ratio.
That's a 40% hit rate. I'll roll with that.
That's good. That's good.
In the 2023 draft class, they had 7 picks. They had 7 picks in the 2023 draft, and they drafted Jalen Carter. Hit, obviously.
Love him.
Nolan Smith, I have no idea what he is. No idea.
And by the way, we can't give any thumbs up or thumbs down on this because it's 1 year and it's not fair, and I won't either.
Right.
But I'll just go like this: did they contribute?
Yeah.
Like that guy Laporta contributed this year to the Lions.
Yeah, his contribution was so massive, he changed his own narrative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he forced you to say, oh, he's a guy. You know what I mean? Like he's somebody I can play with.
And you got to be fair to the Eagles here too. On one point, there's more holes to fill in Detroit the last couple of years than there have been in Philadelphia to have to replace, because especially on the offense, remember something, Tone, you're not going to win a lot of jobs in the O-line if you're an O-lineman in Philadelphia when you've got 3 Pro Bowlers in the line and a potential 4th Pro Bowl. You really theoretically have 4 Pro Bowlers. And Mulata, Mulata's fallen off too this year a little bit here at the back end.
It's funny you say that. I actually thought Mailata was their most consistent offensive lineman.
I think he's kind of fallen a little bit in run game.
I
don't think he's hard. I think he's been a really good. You know what? Has he been better than Lane?
I think he's been more. I think he's been more consistent.
Yeah, I think he's been better than Lane this year.
I think that's about it. Let me look at this other draft class. Give me 1 second. So, all right, here we go. In 2023, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen at offensive line. I
don't know anything about him yet.
Yeah, he played one. He started one game against the Cowboys. He was okay. Wasn't spectacular, but he's a project. He's a stout.
And remember, 28 and up. You got to remember when you're developing these guys for O linemen, they're developed later than D linemen.
Facts. So give me 1 second. So we have there we go. Tyler Steen at offensive lineman. You got Sidney Brown at safety. Don't really know what he is yet. I kind of feel bad. He tore his ACL.
Here's my assessment of him. He's got a great intensity about him. He reminds me of Bob Sanders a lot, the old DB for the Colts. He's bigger than Sanders.
He's got to slow down, though.
But here's his problem: his technique on getting and tackling. I'm not sure he's a great tackler. He's more of a gorer. And what I mean by that, he's like a guy who throws his body like a spear. And I did this. You throw your body and you gore a guy with your head, but you've got to wrap. Okay? And he's a big hitter, but he's got to finish getting people on the ground. He over pursues too much because he's thinking faster than the game. He needs to just, hey kid, you know what, Tone? Seriously, if he smoked 2 joints before a game, he'd probably be all pro.
Yo, that's the take of the day. That's the take of the day.
If he smoked 2 joints,
he'll be good to go. He'll be good. He'll be going at the perfect speed.
Hey, he'd be Ronnie Lott if he smoked 2 joints.
Yo, that's funny. Oh my God, man. So after Sidney Brown, they drafted Keely Ringo.
What do you make of him?
He had a good game, had a bad game, a good game. Like
can I tell you?
I don't know.
Look like a very good athlete.
He's not. So you know what it is? He has the speed, has the athleticism. He doesn't have the flexibility. He looks stiff.
He just doesn't look like he's an athlete.
It's the flexibility. That's what it is. He just looks like he's.
Watch this. You're saying this. He doesn't have flexibility skills and he plays DB. I don't know about you, man, but that's not a good combo.
No, exactly. That was the knock on him coming out.
How tall is he?
Oh, he's like 6. He's rangy. He's like 6'1", 6'2", something like that.
How much does he weigh? Because I might think of playing him at linebacker.
He's 6'2", 207. He's too small.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'd like to put 35 pounds on his ass and put him at Sam or put him at Will and see if he could play that position. Because to me, he's not going to play back there because I don't think he's got good feet. And like you said, I don't think he's got good hips.
Yeah, that's what.
He's going to have to do a lot of work for him to be. That was the big criticism of him coming out of college, is that he was tight in the hips and he didn't rotate well.
Yeah. And after Keely Ringo, they got Tanner McKee, the quarterback out of Stanford, and Moro Ujomo, a D tackle out of Texas, another project. So
I see that kid playing, man. I'm glad that he, that's one thing that I really enjoy about the Eagles that they do. I mean, those later round draft choice kids, because Howie falls in love with his own ego, he plays whether you're a 7th rounder or a 1st rounder. He plays you.
If you're on the D line, he'll play you, especially at DT. He'll play you. But certain positions, I feel like
does he play you because they're cheap?
No, he plays you because somebody got hurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or both.
Or both. I'm definitely willing to say both. Also, by the way, as far according to PFF, and I understand PFF is not the end all be all, but I think they do a pretty good job of grading offensive linemen, right? And Lane Johnson's PFF grade on the season was 80.9. So he had an 80 percentile grade according to PFF, almost 81. Mailata had an 84.1
Oh, I'm wrong. He had a better year. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mailata, and I compared him against everybody else. Mailata has been the highest graded or the most consistent offensive lineman for the Eagles this year.
What's his grade next to Tyron Smith with the Cowboys?
That's a good question. Tyron Smith.
Because that left tackle position, and what's Mailata, 26?
Mailata is 26 years old, correct.
Okay, he's 26. Man, that's young, having never played, and he had a higher grade this year. You think Lane Johnson's running out of gas?
I think this was Mailata's best year since the 2021 year. His 2022 year, believe it or not, I felt like it wasn't his best year, in my opinion. I feel like 2021 to 2022 took a little down slope. He got hurt, though, in 2022. Hurt that shoulder, so he had to get back.
He did.
And 2023 was the get-back year. I feel like he was really strong this year. As far as Lane Johnson, it's so funny. When you're talking about guys of his caliber, the slightest step back in his game, you notice, because he's so great. And even when he takes that step back, he's better than most guys in the league still. But we notice it because he's our guy. So I noticed a Lane Johnson this year that wasn't as sharp as he was last year. But I saw him getting beat by the bull rush a lot more this year, in my opinion. Maybe other people have their own assessment. But every time I see Lane Johnson, not every time, but when I see Lane Johnson go up against a lot of different guys, I saw him getting pushed back a lot in the bull rush. Not the finesse moves. He still has the instincts, but the bull rush. I think the strength is starting to. You
know what happens to O linemen? I'm going to tell you what happens. Their hamstrings.
I think it's the leverage. They
can't bend. You know what?
Yeah.
It's like really funny because they back up so much. The number one thing that goes on an O lineman, especially tackles, is their hamstrings, and they can't bend over, and they can't have the flexibility to get down in their stance, and they play high. And that's why it's funny you should say that. So get this, Tone. You're not really a bull rusher yourself, but it's funny you would notice that. That's astute. When anytime you see an offensive lineman getting bull rushed and he's an older guy, it's because the flexibility is playing too high and he's not able to get down in his stance.
Like it's always
he used to get down in his stance, and he's getting pushed back into the pile.
It looks like he's doing a lot of this a lot. Like he's trying, but he's still a strong guy. And he's still talented. He understands the trick. He understands
75% of that guy is better than 95% of the league.
Exactly. So a guy of that caliber, we're going to notice the step back. We're going to notice it. He's our guy. We're going to see it. We're going to compare him to the Pro Bowl, All Pro years. He still was a Pro Bowler this year, and he didn't have, in my opinion, to his standard, one of the better years. Kelsey, I think, also took a step back. But as far as Tyron Smith, though. Tyron Smith, wow. Tyron Smith had a PFF grade of 83.8.
So Mailata had a higher grade.
And Mailata had a higher grade.
And didn't make the Pro Bowl.
And played. He had a higher grade and played about 180 more snaps than him.
Look at that.
On the season.
Because Tyron Smith plays with the Cowboys. He made the Pro Bowl.
He played over 200 more snaps than him.
So he played over 200 more snaps, had a better season. And Tyron Smith's a starting guard for the Pro Bowl for the NFC.
But left tackle.
Left tackle. He's a starting tackle over Mailata. Mailata had a better year. That shows you how that Pro Bowl thing, when you're looking at players that are putting it up every week. And you know what, too? I guarantee you, Tone, losing 5 or 6 didn't help him in the perception that they were not running the ball like they were in the past and that Jalen was getting pressure on him. Those running backs also – the pass protection probably hurt the entire group. And I'm wondering, do you grade pass protection with the backs and the line? Because that could bring your grade down.
Yeah, see, PFF, you got to pay for the extra thing. Otherwise, I will be able to see the pass blocking grade versus the run blocking grade. But I'm not paying for that right now. So, nonetheless, though.
Pay for anything Chris Collinsworth has. He's a Gator. Oh wait, Howie is too. I forgot.
That's why you and Howie don't see eye to eye, man. It's that Gator hurricane for you.
Could be.
Hey. Let me ask you this: if Howie was a hurricane and everything still was the same, would you be more patient with him?
You see, you got to remember something about Gators. The Gators are the most
Wait,
arrogant.
what?
The Gators are the most arrogant people on the planet. They're the most condescending people. They're the most ignorant when it comes to thinking that they know better than everyone else.
Oh, look at you.
They have an attitude about them that is so pathetic.
Eagles fans, y'all hear him? He is going off right now.
It's great going into Gainesville, beating the shit out of your team and stealing your girlfriends. It's one of the greatest things on the planet to do is eat gator meat before you go up there, take their girlfriends and then their pride and beat the shit out of them at the swamp or the little pond they have. Other than that, they're probably fine folk.
Other than that, they're probably fine folk. Okay. All right. But, oh, yeah.
So wait. So are you saying, do I have a problem with the let me just, I'll say this in closing.
I'm only
There's
saying.
a highway, that's Highway 75 that goes through Shittsville, known as Gainesville. And to me, there's a thing called Gatorland. And the only thing that I know in Shittsville is Gatorland. Somebody told me they play football up there. I refuse to go on I-75. I'm not kidding. I would rather go I-95 and go around and circle to 45 and come on down than to go. I hate those people.
Listen, if
I hate anybody associated with
if he was a hurricane, would you give him more grace? If every decision he's ever made is still the same, if he was a hurricane, would you be honest with yourself? If he was a hurricane, would you give him a little bit of a pass?
I like Jeff Stoutland. Jeff Stoutland was a hurricane.
I bet.
No, he was. So was Sean Desai, actually.
No, I know. That's probably why you took that Sean Desai move hard, isn't it?
Yes, because a lot of people down in Miami like him. You know the hard thing about Sean Desai is, by the way, Pete Carroll, if he ever got fired, Pete Carroll would hire him in 10 seconds. Pete Carroll has great things to say about him. You know where I think he would go? Miami.
Dolphins?
Yeah, with Fangio. Work as an assistant down there with him.
Go down there, go to Miami, regroup, and then take another crack at the DC market the following season. That's interesting.
Yeah, because you know what they would do? He'd go down there, he'd work for Fangio, and if Raheem Morris gets a job, a head coaching job, which I hope he does, that DC job in Los Angeles, Aaron Donald will probably be out of there by then.
Mm-hmm.
I say he's got one more. I say next year's Aaron Donald. He could retire this year. Okay, but I think Aaron Donald's got probably one more year, and you're going to have a guy go in there and revamp. However, the difference with Les Snead and Kevin Demoff, we've seen it in the past, man. They're going to spend the money, and they're going to do whatever it takes. They had a credit card 2 years ago, Tone. I don't know how they were paying for guys.
Yeah,
and they're paying for it now.
If they even smell like they're close to a Super Bowl, they're going to break the bank. They're going to crack the piggy bank and just pull the ripcord, and all the money's going to fall for the ceiling.
Would I give Howie more credit? Would I give him more love if he wasn't a Gator? I'm not going to answer that.
Because you know the damn answer. That's what it is.
Well, you know what? I know every goddamn answer. I go on the air every day, and I can't get to the damn conclusion because you're sitting here. You see what he did today? He called me out going like this. Man, I heard you for 2 hours talking, and you're talking about something that you know the answer to. And I'm like, you know what? Shut up. And I'm, you know what?
You say it to me all the time.
I can't
say it to me all the time
from the fact of arrogance like that.
Listen, man, he's a Gator.
Let me go. Hey, Tom, thanks, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Of course.
He's a Gator. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.
Any professional sports coach will tell you there's no substitution for preparation. At Malamut & Associates, that is a tenet by which we live. We prepare from day one for victory. Anything less is not acceptable.
Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team all season long with their fantasy pick'em game. You pick between 2 to 5 players, select whether they'll go higher or lower on one of their stats, then do what you usually do on a Sunday, watch the games. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. It's a fantasy game, and the Sports Betting Show wants you to get involved. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up, use the promo code WIN, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills. I got my top 10 final list for the regular season for quarterbacks. We'll do that here in a minute. Is Hurts on that list? We'll see. Jim Harbaugh. What an absolute middle finger last night to the NCAA and to the Big Ten. Him winning the national title. Hey, Yale, would you not compare Jim Harbaugh to who was the coach of Vegas? Jerry Tarkanian. Would you compare him to Jerry Tarkanian? Constantly battling with the NCAA? I like Tarkanian. We had a great affiliation when we lived in Las Vegas. I loved Tark. Man, and you know what I found out? I found out from all those guys when my wife and I would live. My wife and I lived in Vegas. I found out that all those Vegas guys loved us Hurricane guys, and we wore Vegas stuff because we liked how they were renegades against the NCAA. The NCAA hated us. And I told all those guys, like Anderson Hunt and them guys, that I said, you don't know how much we loved you. Stacey Augman. We're sitting there at Tark's restaurant. I'm going, Stacey, you guys don't know how much we loved you guys. We wore Hurricane stuff. I'm like, we wore Vegas stuff. He's like, that is crazy. I go, yeah. Tarkanian, and I haven't seen a coach like Harbaugh since Jimmy Johnson. Just puts the middle finger up. How would you like to be the best coach in football today and your own conference hates you? That's gold. That's absolute gold. That, dude, if he's smart, he stays where he is and he builds an even bigger legacy. Don't go to the NFL. Because the NFL, you've got to wear knee pads if you're a head coach. Very few places. Listen to this. He won in San Francisco and they fired him. Why would you want to take that chance again? For you, look at Chip Kelly. Should Chip Kelly, ask yourself this. Should Chip Kelly have left Oregon for the Eagles? In hindsight, should he have left? No. He could still be winning Pac-12 titles. going to national championship semifinals. Why would he leave? Well, I want the challenge of the end. No, you don't. It's not challenging the game. It's challenging the people upstairs. Look at the shit that we're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles the last 6 weeks. It almost has nothing to do with on the field. Why would a coach want to go through that nightmare that you have to go through and talk to people upstairs when you don't have to talk to anybody? Jim Harbaugh handles the personnel. He hires the coaching hires. He hires everything. The strength and conditioning coach, the nutritionist. He's got his hands on everything. Hey, and by the way, Joe Klatt, shut up. For him not to know what you were doing with that guy who was stealing signs, stop. Stop. He knew everything. That again is like Rick Pitino not knowing that they hired prostitutes to recruit for Louisville Cardinal basketball. I mean, or Bobby Petrino in his exploits when he was in college. Come on, guy. Don't go down there. Don't be naive. Don't be covering. Everyone's a big boy. We know what the game is. Okay? Dude, no. You look at Yosei, same in college. Athletic directors, the athletic director completely endorses Jim Harbaugh. And now they want to give him almost a lifetime contract. Jim Harbaugh, now that he won the national title, he's not answering to anybody but the president of the university. He'll be as big as Joe Paterno was. He will. He could be the Joe Paterno of Michigan. Stay there as long as he wants. As long as he doesn't F his legacy up at the end with hiring incompetent people around him. See, that'll be the problem, though. Jim Harbaugh will be his own undoing in the end. You understand this, right? He'll be his own undoing. He'll be fired. A guy like Harbaugh is always fired for something. He's not going to ride off into the sunset. He'll be fired because he's always been. I mean, the Niners fired him. His legacy is already written? Really, Leonard? So you think that Jim Harbaugh's got a better legacy than Bo Schembechler? Cheater. Stop being a do-gooder, Leonard. Cheater. Whatever, guy. Just won a national title. Congratulations to you, Jim. Way to go. Way to stick it in people's faces like Leonard. Way to go, Bill Belichick. Way to stick it in people's faces like Leonard. I love people who say that shit. Yeah, looks like the cheating really paid a dividend. You think the cheating was like in effect when they were beating the shit out of Michael Penix last night and had 10 completions and passes, stealing signs? Or was it just the fact that they beat the shit out of that guy? Hey, by the way, about Michael Penix. Michael Penix looked a little squeamish in the pocket last night, ducking and like turning his head, not standing tough in the pocket. Bad footwork. I agree. The whole deal. He looked, I don't know. As good as he looked in that game against Texas, he looked squeamish in the pocket, like he was afraid. A lot of off his back foot throws, exactly. I mean, I came away from that game going, do you think that guy's got enough courage to stand in the pocket and stand there and take a hit like Hurts? Dude, one thing about Jalen, you know what makes him great? And you know what makes every quarterback that makes $50 million or that's a great quarterback? You got to have courage in the pocket to take a hit because you're going to get hit and you're going to get drilled. If you're squeamish in the pocket like that, you're not going to succeed. That was a criticism I had of Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield this year, in my opinion, it was the first time I saw him stand in the pocket and take hits instead of taking off. He stood back there. And that's why I created a 4,000 passing season for him. I was pretty impressed with the kid. I was, man. I was. Seals, you like that Michigan DC? Stop it. That Michigan DC is nobody. Do you know they'll never hire a quality guy? You know who they're going to hire? Let me give you an example. Al Golden. Somebody like that. Yeah, somebody like that. You're not going to hire one of these Why in the world? Think about this. Who's the head? Who's the head coach at Oklahoma right now? Who's the head coach at Oklahoma? What's his name? Actually, he's doing a better job there at Oklahoma than what Lincoln Riley's doing at Southern Cal. Everyone thought that he was going to be a downgrade. What's his name? Venables? Okay, Venables. He used to be at Clemson. You know that guy made $3.5 million a year at Clemson for being the DC. Why in the world would he go to the NFL? You're not going to pay any more than that. Why would I leave college football when I'm at one of those big-time programs like Michigan? The DC at Michigan probably makes $3 million a year. They make big money today. These assistant coaches at these big-time programs, they make gigantic money. They're not making $700,000 any longer. When you're at Alabama, Georgia, Southern Cal, Texas A&M, you're making between $1.5 and $3.5 million a year. That's just for being a coordinator. Why would I go to the NFL? What's when you're a coach today? I could show you this. Do you know the top 20 coaches in the NFL versus the top 20 coaches in college football? They pretty much make the same money. Sean Payton makes 20. The guy in New England makes 20. But as you come down the list, Saban makes 15. Dabo Swinney makes 12. Harbaugh's going to make 15 to 20 million. He makes more money than NFL. Nick Sirianni makes $6 million. Jim Harbaugh makes $9.5 million. Why would I coach the Eagles? Why would I coach the Eagles when I'm going to make so I'm going to make $20 million at Michigan, and you want to pay me $6 million? Taking a pay cut of $14 million to come coach so I can win a plastic trophy is a joke. And some of you go like this. Well, how about Belichick being the coach of the Eagles? Bill's got a 3-year contract. He's going to make him fire him at $20 million a year. And if he takes a job somewhere else, that means he has to forfeit some of that money and take the shitty job that the Eagles would give him and the shitty salary. Why would he do that? He could collect his $20 million playing golf all day. What's the point? Remember, you guys think it's about plastic toys. Kids talk like that. Adults talk about direct deposits. That's what adults talk about. Well, it's a challenge. When you hear these talking heads talking like it's a challenge for guys to go from. No, it's not. The money has changed. Let me show you something else. I'll give you, and the players are different. Clearly, you got to talk to a pro differently than you do a college kid. You could take a shit on a college kid. You want to hear something crazy? What's changed in college football so much? Okay? The pay cut comes with less responsibility. Front office makes all your decisions for you. That means they control you, Alex. Alex, I'd rather have the control. Your owner wants the control. Listen to what Alex thinks. Alex thinks putting his faith and your fate in someone else's hands is a good remedy and a good policy. No, thank you. If I'm going to die in a plane, I'm going to fly it. If I'm going to run my own ship into an iceberg, I'm going to be the captain of it. I'm not going to let you do it. At least I had control of my own fate. Okay? Michigan, D.C. makes 1.5. Like I said, between somewhere there, you watch. That guy's contract will double. Because Harbaugh makes 9, it'll go to 20. All those salaries are going to go up. They just won the national title. Hey, and so you know, Jim Harbaugh, do you know what he made by winning the national title? $350,000 for getting to the semis, $500,000 for winning it, $1 million for getting to the final, and $2.5 million for winning it. Jim Harbaugh made about $4.5 million in 1 week. Why would he go to the NFL? What's the point? What's the point? Here, let me give you a little insight on how college football. See, you guys being in Philly, you got to remember something. You're not really a college town. You don't really cover college football or follow it because, and you're not unlike a lot of Northeast cities. New York's not either, unless it's Notre Dame. You guys are interested in Penn State and Notre Dame and Philly. If I had to put maybe Army-Navy, because the Army-Navy game comes to your city, you have no interest in Temple. No disrespect, Tone. you have no interest in that thing. So it's mostly Penn State and Notre Dame. Same with New York. Up in Boston, kind of Boston College. Shit, they got more interest in Harvard. So you really don't follow the game that much. Okay? So you got to remember this. Okay? Ask yourself this. Arch Manning makes $3.5 million a year, and he's the third-team quarterback in Texas. And the starting quarterback who's going to finish third in the MVP, Brock Purdy, makes $870,000. That's all you need to know about college football. That's all you need to know about college. The quarterback, the starting quarterback, the first team NFC Pro Bowl quarterback makes $870,000. And the third team quarterback at Texas makes $3.5 million with his nil deals. You tell me. What's changed with college football? Okay? What's changed? Okay? What's changed? You tell me. College football has changed a ton. It has changed a ton. Make no mistake about it. It has changed a ton. It will hopefully keep players there longer. I think it will. Like if you're Caleb Williams or you're Michael Penix has to come out. If you're college kids, you're now going to change the game on the NFL. Why would I come out of college to go to a shitty team and a shitty organization when I don't have to? And I could stay in college and make the same amount. Like, look at Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders makes $12 million a year. I think it's something like that he'll make this coming season. He'll make more money than first-round draft choices in the NFL at Colorado. Why should he come out and go to the Arizona Cardinals or go to some team like that or go to some organization like that? Why should he? Why should he do that? Right? It doesn't make sense. Hey, Tone, listen, man. Hey, we got to wrap the show up here a little early here. I apologize for that. We got some stuff to do here. Somebody just came in here, and we got a little bit of a small emergency. Nothing, anything. But we got a little bit of an issue here, so we're going to take care of that. We appreciate everybody. We thank you so much. Ron Jaworski's going to join us tomorrow. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Xander, Big Joe, thank you very much. Tone, you killed it once again. We'll see you tomorrow, 2 to 6 Eastern, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Football and Hooters, the